Come into the room. Come into the room. I am the H-Town Vet, and I would like to welcome you to this live stream, a place where we will discuss a variety of benefits available to veterans and their dependents. And tonight we're going to be talking about protecting those benefits. All right, come into the room. We're going to give you a few minutes to reach critical mass. Thank you for joining us, and we're glad that you're here. Come on into the room. Okay, we have our brother Zimmerman here, Charleston Zimmerman, and he says, "Hi, H-Town Vet family, 33 degrees here in Pennsylvania. We're getting ice and sleet tonight. Be safe, stay in. Hopefully you got all the creature comforts that you need to take care of yourself, our brother. We want you to be straight up there. So we are here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for commenting. And we're going to get ready to get started here. I'm going to check the weather, what we looking like right here in Texas, in the Houston area. We're at 73 degrees. Should get the low is 68. So weather is not too harsh. It's pretty comfortable, but we thank you for joining us. Let us get started, family. Thank you, because when we get in here, we're going to get it going. But let us know when you enter the room. All right. I don't know what that is. Give me a second. I don't know what happened there. Okay, that was different. Some have give me time, family. I'm trying to figure out what happened to my screen. Okay, there we go. Everything's back normal. Thank you for joining us. Now I can manipulate the screen. Thank you for being here. And let us get started. Now tonight, before we get started, we want to thank y'all for being here. For those of you that have showed up, we want to thank you and appreciate you for being here and for your continued support and your promptness. Now, we have a standard operating procedure, as we did in the military, a way we do things to keep structure, clarity, make sure we don't miss any of the information, and to address trolling issues. Now, the way it's set up here, our SOP, standard operating procedure, is we go over the objectives on most cases, where we talk about the topic, VA law update, veteran news, channel information, and then we go into the after party where you're able to express yourself on whatever topic you would like to talk about at that point. So we leave space for you to be able to express yourself, not just on veteran issues, but ones that you find interesting. Now let me see about this, make sure my sound is right. Then we're going to acknowledge the alternative, our sister, for being here. We appreciate her. All right, let me take these headset off. And thank y'all for smashing that like button. You're doing a very good job, and we appreciate that. Now, our sister, the alternative, says, let me see what I got here. Our sister Alternative says, hello, H-Town Vet and Mr. Zimmerman. Happy to see you too, Alternative. Glad that you're here. This is an impromptu live stream that I want to cover the information. As stuff come out, I like to make sure we cover it, you know. May not be able to wait till Sunday or Thursday nights. So, but glad that y'all could show up. Now, so tonight, first thing we're going to cover is the topic, of course, as our procedure. What are we going to be talking about tonight? Should veterans be fearful of losing their Second Amendment rights? This is the question that we're going to answer tonight. All right? And because these concerns have come up before, and so we're going to talk about it. Now, the Second Amendment, really, it talks, specifically, this was done a few hundred years ago, but it's used often to protect the rights of people being able to protect themselves with firearms and other weapons. And it's the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So let's talk about it. How does this affect veterans? Those of us that's been in the military and those of us been in combat or may been affected, been exposed to certain traumas. Let's talk about it. Now, when you go to try to get your concealed weapons application, I don't remember if they ask if you're a veteran, but I know they give veteran discount. So these are issues and things that you got to concern, things that you were exposed to in your military, will that affect you from being able to possess a firearm? Now, because of, we talked about before, like, for example, the PTSD triggers, no pun intended, of course, we have mood changes, but just like anybody else, given our conditions. And some people that are not military in particular, they may not understand how that affects us and may be fearful of us owning firearms or anything because we're trained to neutralize threats, right? So some people see that, and sometimes it's hard to get a job when you let them know you're a veteran. Now, one big fear that was brought up by one of our sisters, I believe it was, a while back, was the Baker Act. And it is a Florida law, but they use it throughout the United States, from what I know. It is a Florida law that allows for the involuntary examination of people who are experiencing a mental health crisis. So key thing is mental health crisis, okay? This is the issue. At that time, many of you, when you go into, when many of y'all go into a CMP exam, you're fearful of telling the examiner that you experience thoughts of self-harm. You're supposed to tell them that. If you're getting evaluated, especially for mental health conditions, tell them the truth. Well, they might put me on the Baker Act. No, you have to have a crisis right then. If you have a crisis in that office and you're talking about hurting yourself right in that office, that examination room, or hurting the doctor, now those are the issues. But if you have it and it comes and goes, but you don't have no particular plan to hurt yourself, that's different. You should get treatment for that, but not be fearful, because this is a common thing with veterans given the high rate of self-harm, okay? And we're going to talk about that in a little bit in Veteran News. Let us continue, family. Now, what we have here, what happens to firearms when a person is Baker Acted? We just went over the definition of the Baker Act. Law enforcement will confiscate any firearms owned by the person. And the Baker Act is actually done, I believe it's a legal process through a judge. Now, this is the tricky part here. If a risk protective order is issued, the person must surrender all firearms, ammunition, and concealed weapon permits. Now, the firearms are usually returned within 24 hours of discharge, unless and RPO is issued. So if you have a protective order against you, or some type of domestic violence, that's one thing I don't break up in person. I ain't breaking up with nobody in person, and I didn't even really consider getting anything to protect myself like that till you get, I would say be careful telling people what you're able to do, because those be the things they try to take from you. So be very careful. Now let's see what our brother Zimmerman said. He says, good point. The word triggered, I guess that refers to firearms. Yes. Never thought about that word meaning before, right? See the word play? And so when people take a trigger, especially us, you got to realize whether you're male or female, we all been trained to take people out, to neutralize threats. And those people that don't understand our training or our experiences of what we go through, they can be somewhat fearful, okay? So always be aware of that. That's why we talk to each other, a place where we can feel safe, right? So let us continue. Now, you may have all type of weapons. Some of you may have gas masks, all type of stuff, but you're not bothering nobody. There's something you feel comfortable with, and some of you may not. Let us continue. Now we're going to do our reaction video. This is going to be very powerful. This is another Congress, dealing with Congress about our veterans' right to carry or bear arms. So should veterans be fearful of losing their Second Amendment rights? Let's see what the Congress hearing says about that. We got our brother in here, and we're glad to see you. I missed our brother good. He say good evening, family. Okay. Now let us continue, family. So we're doing the reaction video. We're going to say fair use. Well, hold on. It's from Congress. This was done. I waited a couple of weeks. It's Committee on Veteran Affairs, the one we usually go over, and they have different Senate hearings on different topics. So let us talk about it. Fair use, family, fair use. This is used for educational purpose and informative, especially for veterans when we're dealing with the topics. So let's see what they were talking about a few weeks ago. If it was that long, I don't know if it was that, it might have been a week, in Congress about veterans and their Second Amendment rights. Let's talk about it. All right. We're gonna. All right, give me a second here. I'm gonna make sure I got everything. As my grandmother would say, copacetic. Now let's see what they were talking about, family. And give me a thumbs up and let me know if y'all can hear me, okay? Do that for us. Give me a thumbs up if once he started talking, you can hear him.
According to regulations issued by VA and the Department of Justice, VA must report to the...
I forgot to turn the music off, family. Hold on. Let us get the music out the way. All right, there we go. We're going to go back just a little bit.
All right, Mr. Self, there's no making fun of the chairman when I'm in control of the gavel. I'd like to welcome the new members of the subcommittee and those returning members. It is absolutely a privilege to be the chairman again for disability assistance, and my good friend Morgan McGarvey from Kentucky's 3rd District is now our ranking member. So happy to have you here, sir. Today we are going to take a closer look at how the Department of Veterans Affairs seems to fail to give veterans any due process before violating their constitutional right to bear arms. According to regulations issued by VA and the Department of Justice, VA must report to the FBI National Instant Criminal Background Check System, or the NICS list, the name of any veteran who needs help from a fiduciary to manage their finances because of a disability.
Now, we're going to start right there. Now, if you want more information on that, So give me a second and I'm gonna come up on the screen. Now, I want you to understand something. A fiduciary is usually responsible for your finances. If you become a disabled veteran and you're not able to manage your finances, that's what a fiduciary is for. Watch our video on what is a fiduciary to get more information, because all of us as veterans, no matter where we at in the process, if they say you can't handle your finances on that DBQ that the doctor fill out, you're going to have to explain to them how you can. Now, apparently, this also refers to what? This also refers to you owning a firearm. They say, well, if you can't handle your money, what they got to do with you handling a firearm? So this is what they're getting into if you have a fiduciary. And let's see how far they try to stretch that. So let's talk about it, family. A fiduciary is somebody that's over your finances as far as being a disabled veteran. Maybe other things, but specifically the fiduciary program for the VA. If somebody else is managing your finances for you on your behalf, it could be a family member or a lawyer or some other company that does so. Now let's talk about it. Now they're talking about the firearms. Let's get back to it.
These veterans sacrificed to protect the Constitution These veterans sacrificed to protect the Constitution, due process, and Second Amendment rights of every American. Yet for over 2 decades, without any due process, VA bureaucrats have stripped over 250,000 veterans with fiduciary constitutional right to possess and purchase firearms. These practices have wrongfully prevented veterans with fiduciaries from owning. See me after class, sir. You good to go, Mr. Reynolds? All right. This practice, okay, so for over 2 decades, I'll repeat this, over 250,000 veterans with fiduciaries of the constitutional right to possess and purchase firearms. These practices have wrongfully prevented veterans with fiduciaries from owning firearms, whether to be protect themselves and or their families. VA reports these veterans to the NICS list without any ruling by any judge that they are a danger to themselves or others. The VA does this without any medical findings by any medical professionals that they are dangerous to themselves or their community. It is important to understand that the VA strips veterans of their constitutional right to bear arms with zero medical evidence indicating that they are suicidal, homicidal, or a threat to their community. Under VA's current practice, at no point before VA reports a veteran to the NICS list does any medical professional ever need to say that a veteran is at a risk to themselves. It should go without saying that there is no data to support that a veteran who is unable to manage their finances because of a disability is automatically dangerous. In fact, advocates for mental health care emphasize that assuming anyone with a mental illness is dangerous absolutely stigmatizes mental illness itself. Ultimately, VA incorrectly assumes without any evidence whatsoever that a veteran should be stripped of their rights to bear arms or simply because they need help paying their bills. By comparison, in every other state and federal legal system, civilians and criminals must be proven dangerous by a judge based on evidence before they are stripped of their constitutional right to bear arms. Veterans with fiduciaries do not get the same process. Unlike every other American, veterans with fiduciaries must undergo a difficult appeals process where they must prove that they should be given back their constitutional right to bear arms only after they have been added to the NICS list. This means that veterans are subject to different rules compared to every other American, even though veterans fought to protect our American constitutional rights. Since March 9th of 2024, VA has been temporarily prohibited from using any funds to report a veteran assigned a fiduciary to the NICS list without a court ruling that the veteran is a danger to themselves or others. This hearing will reveal that Congress must pass a permanent piece of legislation or legislative solutions to protect veterans' constitutional due process. This hearing is not about guns or demand. It's about affording veterans with the same due process rights every other American is afforded. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses, and thank you, Dr. Reynolds. I appreciate you traveling all the way from Alabama, sir. With that, I will yield to the ranking member for his opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I truly am looking forward to working with you. I've enjoyed our relationship over the last few years and enjoyed the relationship you had with my predecessor, Representative Pappas. And one of the things that we have talked about several times is that no matter where we find ourselves outside these walls. We agree. We agree that our veterans deserve our care. They have earned our care. They have been made both a legal and a moral promise. And it is our job on this committee to make sure that we live up to that promise. And I look forward to working with you to do so. I know today's hearing is also a little bit tricky. It is a little bit tricky because as someone with family members in the military, veterans in my family, all around the community, I understand that veterans do oftentimes have and enjoy owning firearms. We also know the incredibly sobering statistics around veteran mental health and veteran suicide. Our job on this committee is not to enter into the hot button political topics of the day, but to figure out how to best take care of our veterans. These statistics are truly sobering. Today, the most at-risk group in the entire country for death by suicide are white men over 50 who served in the military and own a firearm.
Now, family, this is very concerning that the large number of people that take their lives it's a high percentage of veterans, and as they say, specifically white veterans, people that have served their country, and but in general, it's, from what I'm getting into the list here, 17 veterans die by self-harm every day, and this is a serious thing. So we're talking about it tonight, and so there may be different concerns of why people say that, well, when it comes to veterans, but we could have the firearms when we were in the military, we could clean them. When we needed to defend our country, we could use them. But when they come back here, so let me give me a second here. Now, listen to what our brother Thumper says. I think some veterans fear saying too much when it comes to mental health with this exact fear. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so that's why you need to have trust and confidence in your healthcare provider, your mental health physician. All right, we definitely do. Now, listen, Sister Bionic Woman says, good evening, Mr. H-Town vet and the veteran family. Hope all is well. Doing well on this end. Now, Brother Charleston says, Thumper, yes, you have to be careful when you go to the VA. The questions they ask are leading like a trap. Man, do you understand? Do you hear what the brothers are talking about here? Come on now. Thumper says, Bionic Woman, good evening, Queen. How's the knee and you? So tonight, because of the way we're doing it, we're going to probably, we don't get too much in the comments, but this is interactive tonight. So the whole thing is coming as long as we stay on topic or we're greeting each other. Now, then, Bionic Woman say, hi, Mr. Zimmerman, Thumper, and the alternative. Now, let us get back to the video. So that's a real concern. Let's get back to the video. Thank y'all.
73% of veteran suicides involve firearms. We also know that death by firearm is the most lethal common method of suicide, and male veterans are 41% more likely to use a firearm in suicide attempts than non-veterans, and female veterans are 39% more likely to use a firearm in suicide than non-veterans. This is something we have to continue to be aware of and work on in this community.
Now, y'all need to understand something here, that females tend to use less lethal means when it comes to taking their own lives. They don't usually use firearms, but female veterans, yes, because of their training, because of our training too. So this is a concern. Now let's see, like I say, this is open forum tonight because the way we're set up, we're going to interact. If we're giving some information, we won't read all the comments, but we want to read some of them here. Bionic Woman say, hi, Mr. Zimmerman, Thumper, and Alternative. Charleston say, hi, Bionic Woman. And then Veteran Posse Plug say, good evening, H-Town vet and family. Hope all is well. All is well on my end, brother. We're talking about these issues about the question of the night is, should veterans be fearful of losing their Second Amendment rights? Let's talk about it. We're going over the Senate hearing, and they're talking about, the threats of self-harm, and they never talk about, they worried about us going in there, going up in somewhere and taking out a whole bunch of, individuals. They don't talk about that, but they fear that. So many times when you go to a job, you got to let them know that you are a veteran. Legally you have to do that, right? And a lot of times that prevented me, in my belief, that prevented me from getting jobs. I had to literally stop letting them know I was a veteran to get a job when I got out of Desert Storm. I think there was a stigma, because as soon as I stopped doing that, I got the job. Now we're going to get back to the video, family.
Committee. In fact, on Tuesday, Senator Blumenthal asked incoming VA Secretary Doug Collins in his confirmation hearing if he would commit to find ways to reduce firearm suicides by veterans. Doug Collins said, quote, "I will look to fix anything that takes the lives of our veterans." That means we have to talk about it too. We have to lessen the very real stigma around seeking mental health. I told you this is tricky. We know veterans want to enjoy owning firearms. We don't want them to not seek care out of a fear that they will lose access to that firearm. At the same time, we cannot.
Now, family, we don't say whether you own firearms or not, but from your opinion, let's talk hypothetically. If you did own a firearm, let's say if you did, we're speaking hypothetically. Would you be fearful of letting your mental health doctor or someone at the VA know that you have one? If you suffered from a mental health condition, this is just hypothetically. Would you fear letting them know? Put a yes in the chat. Put a yes in the chat if you would fear it, and put a no in the chat if you wouldn't. And why, so let's see what our brother says here. Our brother Thumper says, sounds like as long as you are working, aka part of the military, it's okay. See, that's a key thing, brother. As long as we doing the military, they don't have no problem with us having firearms. That's weird. As soon as you're out, then it's a problem. Yes, it's almost like they DX us. Remember back in our TA-50, our military gear, we called it in the Army TA-50. When our military gear, when it wasn't no longer usable, they would DX it. It's almost like we're government issue, and once they've used us for their purpose, they DX us. That's how I feel about it. So who in here would fear letting the VA know that you own weapons, and if anything like that? That's not. Brother Charleston said yes, he would. I said yes, I would be concerned if I did. This is hypothetical. All right. Now, Kevin Carbar C say good evening to the family. He said no. Let us know, brother Kevin. Why wouldn't you be concerned? Let us know. If you own the firearm, why wouldn't you have any problems letting them know at the VA? Let us know. Now, brother Thumper says yes. If I did, I do not have any. Okay. If I did, that's why we're speaking hypothetically. If you did. All right. Because you know how that government is. Now, Bionic Woman say, yes, I would. Remember, we're speaking in the hypothetical here because we know these are open channels, right? Now, the Bionic Woman says, hi, Kevin. Now, let us get back to it. I told y'all we're going to get into some good information. We're going to be covering it. So as we said, we're answering the question tonight. Should veterans be fearful of losing their Second Amendment rights, especially when we go to the VA for treatment and if they ask if we own firearms? Put a 1 in the chat if anybody at the VA ever asked you if you own a firearm. Were you in possession of any firearm? Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever been asked that question by a VA hospital representative. Let us know.
talk about death by suicide with these statistics without talking about the firearms themselves. I understand, I empathize with our veterans and others who feel there's an unfairness to the current system. But we have to be willing to talk about this in a way of where the rubber meets the road. We're talking about a very specific subset of veterans who have gone in for medical care, who've been diagnosed with conditions such as schizophrenia, Alzheimer's, dementia, other conditions severe enough that they are no longer able to handle their own affairs. In fact, we have a 2018 study by Swanson that found that veterans with a fiduciary are, quote, at significantly higher risk of suicide compared to other veterans.
So remember what they're saying here. They're not talking about just any veteran that's a disabled veteran or receive help, or just a regular veteran that receives treatment at the VA hospital. They're talking about those that have fiduciaries, people that are handling your finances. Well, if they're handling my finances, hold on, it's starting to break up a little. Give us a moment here. Let me see. Can I make this work? All right, we should be back, family. Sorry about that. All right, we're back. I tried something different, so I do apologize. Now, okay, let me know if you're still here. Everybody come on back into the room. Brother Charleston says, give me a thumbs up if you can see me. If you can hear me talking, give me a thumbs up in the chat. And we're going to continue. Had a little technical difficulties. Let us know. Come on back into the room. Our brother Charleston says, Kevin Colbert Sr., yes, but civilian government treats them as a privilege. Sad but true. Okay. Let us know if you're in here. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know, family. Give me a thumbs up in the chat. Okay, you can hear me. All right, look, I tried to do something different, but I don't think I could do it that way, because it seemed like since I moved, okay, y'all can hear me. Great job. Let us continue. See, I told you, here we're going to be going over. We're going to have fun, family. When we get to the after party, y'all want to cut up and stuff, we can cut up. But while we're here, we want to make sure that people that are watching this recorded, they know that we're about our business over here, especially on such a serious topic. So thank all the family here. Let's see. Brother Kevin Colbert Sr. say, Charleston Zimmerman, I do agree with you, brother. Now, I don't know what they was talking about. I forgot. But I don't know if they talking about popping H-Town upside the head. But he said he agree with him. So let's continue.
So we're not just talking about veterans who are more at risk for suicide than the general population. We are talking about a population within the veterans that is at a significantly greater risk for suicide. 17 veterans right now, 17 veterans a day are dying by suicide. So we cannot ignore these facts and these studies. The chairman and I joked about this for a minute beforehand, and we don't need another study papering the wall of the VA. But this is worth our attention and worth finding out exactly what's going on. Because in this situation we're in today, we are finding ourselves, I fear, too much talking about the politics and not the policy. So I want to make this a little more concrete as we step into it. What happens? If you are a veteran in Louisville, Kentucky, how does the rubber meet the road? How is this going to impact you? And the reality is, if you're a veteran going in for healthcare, and it's not by going to a mental health appointment. So if you're going in to get this determination and you're going in for mental health care as a veteran, that is not how you end up here. A veteran who goes in for mental health, for schizophrenia, for Alzheimer's, for PTSD, for any of the things we've talked about, that is not how you end up here in the situation we're discussing today. You can be found not to be competent in a medical proceeding, but this only kicks in after you apply for a disability benefit because of that condition. So this happens when the vet applies for benefits. As part of the benefit application process then, the VA records and compiles the medical evidence. This is the first.
I'm trying to be clear on the question that our brother is asking here. Our brother Kevin Colbart Sr. say why we veterans are a threat. Why are we seen as a threat? I'm assuming you're saying. Well, it's very, very confusing to me because one, I believe it has to do with the fact that people don't understand our experiences, the way we think, or the way we move once we've been in the military. That makes people, because they can't relate, that kind of make people a little unnerved. Okay? I'm going to have to do something about this internet issue here. Now, brother Charleston Zimmerman, Kevin Colbert Sr., movies like Rambo. Wow, that is a good one there. Movies like Rambo really puts us, as we come back, and we might mess up the whole situation. Yes, indeed. Man, that movie did, I was a young man when that came out. I was a child.
Step. So what happens, you go in, there's a person who administers a disability benefits questionnaire that the veteran community knows as the DBQ. And it can indicate that a veteran may require, not shall, may require a fiduciary. Then there's a second layer of review that kicks in. The initial findings are reviewed by claims processors trained to evaluate this medical evidence. If there is enough medical evidence to get the claims processors to determine that they cannot manage their own affairs, then the file goes to the fiduciary program. It's during that process that the VA is required by law to notify veterans of the proposed determination with respect to their competency. So you've already had.
So now, family, now listen to what's going on here. It starts off with, you go to the exam, and on the last couple of pages of the DBQ, the disability benefits questionnaire, when you do a C&P examination, the doctor is asked the question, can this veteran handle their finances? And they either put yes or they'll put no. And then now you got a situation, if you can't handle your finances, they're saying you can't handle your weapons. That's not even on the DBQ. And do they need a fiduciary? So they're extrapolating that if you need a fiduciary, and watch our video on what is a fiduciary, we have it here. And this is not power of attorney though. You can give somebody power of attorney. A fiduciary is imposed on you from outside your will. You can give somebody power of attorney, like when you go to get a claim done through a veteran service officer. You give them power of attorney, the American Legion, DAV, or you can give one of your spouse or your children power of attorney. All right? Or somebody might be appointed as power of attorney on your behalf. But when it comes to a fiduciary, in this situation, these are VA fiduciaries that are meant to help the veteran manage their funds on their behalf. And it doesn't always work good, but that now they're saying it's not just a financial issue, or can you possess or manage firearms? That's the other issue. How's that connected? We're about to find out, I guess, because I'm reacting to this in real time, just like you.
At a layer of review, then it goes to another layer of review and another layer of review, which will notify you that there's a potential determination of your competency. At any point in this process, after you've been notified or before, you can actually offer additional or contrary evidence. You can appeal the VA's decisions. In fact, there are at least 6 avenues for appeal.
Now, he's talking about appeals, which is true. I'll talk about that in a second. Now, this is a powerful statement that our brother Kevin Colbart Sr. says. He say, use us, then throw us away like a used toy. It feels that way sometimes, doesn't it? Now, and like I said, y'all on topic, we good. Now, listen what he says here. Don't have the right to defend ourselves no matter your mental right, okay? Now, so here's the thing, that if they have, the VA got to let you know if they're going to put a fiduciary over you, okay? They can't just they got to notify you. I've had a couple of veterans that I helped that they recommended a fiduciary. All you got to do is go to your doctor or nurse or somebody that you see on a regular basis, and they write a letter that this person H-Town Vet or Willie Foo can handle their own finances, and you can now understand they're going to give you your money. I want y'all to follow here. They're going to give you your so let's say you got an increase from 80% to 100%. They're going to give you until they make a decision. They're going to give you your regular the check, that the increase on that check, but your back pay they're going to hold. Did you hear what I just said? Let's say you had $100,000 in back pay. They're going to hold that until they determine whether or not you need a fiduciary based on what the doctor in the examination room for your CMP exam put on the DBQ. Come on, let's talk about it. Let's see what he says. Let's get back to this, and I'm gonna go.
Appeal. On the chart behind me, you can see through these, and we're happy to talk about ways with the majority. If we can make these notices and appeals more accessible to vets, more accessible to them, figure out how they can get through this process. Again, we want to make sure we are taking care of our veterans. So once this determination of incompetency has been made, there have been notices for contrary evidence, it's gone through several layers of review, then you are determined to be incompetent to handle your own affairs. And the VA complies with the Administrative Procedures Act, the NICS Improvement Amendments Act, and the 21st Century Cures Act in their notifications to veterans about the ramifications of this decision. That is when you get reported to NICS. It is my understanding, however, that even if we take away the notification to NICS, that does not automatically give you the right to own a firearm. You have already been deemed incompetent to handle your affairs. You've already had a condition serious enough you can't handle your own affairs, and you are still incompetent under other laws and are unable to own a firearm. This prohibits the notification to NICS, which then the practical effect of that is you are unable to buy a new firearm.
I'm just the messenger, family. I'm just reporting the news, so don't get mad at me. Really, it's the congressman here reporting the news. So even if you get from under it, you listening? It's already been reported outside to the civilian world, right? It's reported outside there to the civilian world. So even though they may drop it on the VA end of the game, out in the regular world, they may still keep you from getting any more firearms or anything for self-protection. Come on now. This thing is deep. Now I got to read what Thumper said here. He said, I still trying to understand the connection between finances on your Second Amendment rights. I wonder if these overpaid bureaucrats, yes, will ever actually make the connection. Yeah, how's they connected? What money got to do with protecting yourself? Now, not being able to handle your money. You know, these are questions. And the brother said, right Thumper from Brother Kevin. And Kevin Colbertine said exactly. And Thumper said, Kevin Colbertine said cold game. And then he said, my question is why now are they concerned about veterans? Now is my question. So at what point? Because now you ain't gonna like my answer, okay? Let me come up on the full screen there for a second. You're not gonna like my answer. They worry about you now because there's money involved. And somebody wants to control that money. That's why they want a fiduciary over your money. They want a fiduciary in the form of a lawyer, a family member. Now, all of a sudden, when we were struggling in the military, because you don't make a lot of money in the military, it'd be tight sometimes, unless you're real high-ranking or high-ranking officer. So now that we getting this VA compensation, people feel like they got to regulate us like we on welfare, in my opinion. You understand? Remember back in the day, can't have nobody in the house. If you're going to get food stamps or welfare, you can't. They almost treating us like welfare kids, in my opinion. What do you say? Now listen to what the brothers say. Thumper say, this sounds like red flag laws. Yes. So he say, Brother Thump say, so, oh, it sounds like red flag. Like, let me click this one here. Now, Kevin Kobar Sr. say, so it's all about money. Yes. They extrapolate money into keeping you from possessing firearms. How does that relate? We read the Baker Act earlier. That's when you have a mental health crisis. You getting somebody right and see a mental, that's the Baker Act. If you have a mental health crisis, that they can take your weapons while you're under that mental health crisis, but they have to give them back to you. Unless you what? Unless you have a order protection against you or some kind of domestic violence, right? So now that's on the civilian side of the game. With this, they almost Baker acting you on their own. It's talking about finances, and they extrapolate it into whether or not you can have self-protection. Now look, H-Town like a grandfather. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, Kevin Carbar Sr. say, so it's about control. It's about control and controlling finances and controlling the veteran that get the finances. I don't know what they get out of controlling us, but a lot of people feel like that we get too much money. And a lot of people mad that we get tax-free money. Huh? Did you hear what I said? Now let us get back to it, family.
Has nothing to do with existing firearms, which when you get into the depths of this, and we were talking about this yesterday, Mr. Chairman, your fiduciary might keep you from buying that firearm anyway, because they are in control of your money and can determine how your money is spent because you've applied for this disability benefit after you've gotten your care. So let's take a step back. We look at this underlying process, and I will
So let's say, for example, family, I want y'all to follow me here. Let's say, for example, you had a lawyer that they put as a fiduciary over you. You didn't have a family member. So you need to go to them for some of your money. They say, well, okay, what are you going to buy? I want to buy a firearm for personal protection at my house. They can determine that they're not going to give you the money for the firearm. Okay? This is what he's talking about. Let us continue.
readily admit the process can be frustrating, it can be confusing, and maybe we need to do some work on this to better protect our veterans. There's always room for improvement. I think we can point out some fault lines in the current process, and I know that there are veterans who feel this process is failing them. Those are fair and perhaps essential questions that we should ask about the fiduciary program right now, and we don't always have the firm evidence to answer. So I wanted to kind of set the stage today, say that no matter what the issue is, we here on the minority side stand ready to work with the majority to ensure the care of our veterans, to make sure that they are getting the care they need, to reduce that number so that veterans are no longer the most at-risk group for suicide in our entire country.
And when they say minority side, they're talking about, you know, like I think the Republicans in charge now, so they're the majority and the Democrats are the minority. And I think this had already transitioned by the time of this video. I'm not for sure. Now, family, let's see here. So let's read a few statements because I like the interaction concerning the topic and we really appreciate it. We're going to slow walk this thing. It's not but an hour and 32 minutes. We're 20 minutes in, but we're going to do as much as we can do tonight. We'll break off if we have to. Now, Kevin Colbart Sr. say, how can someone who never served in the military tell me what's best for me? That's insane. I'm in agreement. Now, Thumper say, I would understand this BS better if they would have just left it with the mental health. Yes, I'm in agreement. This is what I'm saying. If they would have said, okay, it's just the mental health thing. Okay, why are you going through a mental health crisis? You shouldn't have it. No, they just saying you have a fiduciary, and a fiduciary is usually because of financial reasons. But they extrapolating financial reasons to what? To I guess they saying because it's dealing with mental health or whatever, you got to extrapolate it into you being able to possess firearms. Now, so if a veteran has a pending problem and have a fiduciary, they are willing to take our rights. They're talking about it. Hopefully, we trying to work through it. That's why I want y'all to know what's going on here. Now, that's why we do this at the H-Town Vet. I know this ain't a video that's going to get the views that if we talk about 100% permanent total, but we got to talk about all of it, because remember, here at the H-Town Vet, we're not just here to help you get your benefits, to let you know what your benefits are once you get them. We're also here to help you protect those benefits. Huh? Now, let us continue, family. Let's see what these Congress folk talking about.
And to do the work of this committee, which is again to take care of them and keep them safe. Mr. Chairman, I look forward to doing that with you. I look forward to today's hearing.
Thank you, Ranking Member. I ask unanimous consent for non-committee members to participate. In accordance with committee rules, I ask unanimous consent that the following members be permitted to participate in today's subcommittee hearing: Representative Van Orden of Wisconsin and Representative Mr. Eli Crane from Arizona. Without objection, so ordered. Today's panels include witnesses from Congressional Research Service as well as veteran advocates. Our lead witness from Congressional Research Service is Dr. Jordan B. Cohen, analyst in firearms policy. Welcome, sir. Dr. Cohen is joined by Dr. Scott Simondera. Did I nail it?
Close enough. Simondera.
Simondera. Yeah, potato, tomato. Sorry, buddy. Analyst in disability policy and Congressional Research Services. Today's panels also include Mr. James McCormick, past National Commander of the Military Order of the Purple Heart. Welcome. Dr. Wayne Reynolds, National Treasurer for Vietnam Veterans of America. Sir, welcome again. Ms. Nancy Springer, Associate Director, National Legislative Service at Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States. Welcome, ma'am. And Master Sergeant Michael Top Washington, U.S. Marine Corps retired, of the Everytown Veterans Advisory Council. Welcome, sir. Thank you all for your service. I ask that the witnesses on our panel please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you, and let the record reflect that the witnesses have answered in the affirmative. Dr. Cohen, sir, you are now recognized for 5 minutes to deliver your opening statement on behalf of the Congressional Research Service.
Chairman Luttrell, Ranking Member McGarvey, and distinguished members of the committee. My name is Jordan Cohen, and I am a CRS analyst in firearms policy. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify before the subcommittee today. I will summarize my formal written statement with these remarks, and I will focus on the Department of Veterans Affairs reporting requirements for the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, otherwise known as NICS. Joining me is my colleague Scott Simondera, and we will be available to answer your questions. NICS is a national name check system for federal firearms licensees, otherwise known as FFLs. It is used to confirm that a person is not prohibited from legally buying, selling, or possessing a firearm. Section 102 of the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act of 1993 requires all FFLs to request a background check through NICS on prospective buyers before completing a firearms transfer. NICS reporting refers to the process for federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement departments and agencies to report persons ineligible according to federal law to own a firearm to NICS. That federal law is 18 U.S.C. 922G, and it lists the 9 classes of people who cannot buy, sell, or possess a firearm. These classes include, but are not limited to, felons in possession.
Walk through it. A convicted felon, or a person that was a felon that's out of jail now, a felon in possession of a firearm. So that's the first group. All right, let's walk through these groups.
Persons convicted of misdemeanor crimes of domestic violence.
People convicted of misdemeanor crimes of domestic violence. So it don't even have to be a felony if it's related to domestic violence. Remember, that comes back into play if you are a retiree. If you're gonna you divorce, your spouse can get half your check after 20 years of being with you, and it has to overlap with your military service. But if you are convicted of domestic violence in the military, they only have to be with you for 10 years with the overlap in your military service and your marriage. So domestic violence accelerates. So always be careful. I don't break up in person. I don't care what nobody say. Now, let's see what, because you don't know how people going to react. Now, let's see what the brother Kevin Carbar Sr. say. They can barely control the criminals better, yet veterans who fight for the rights of this control, yes. They try to control us. That, I don't know what to say. It seems that way. Now, let's see what other groups.
Unauthorized immigrants and non-immigrant visitors, people who
Now they're saying unauthorized immigrants. They got immigrants that were becoming policemen in Arizona, so that's not true. They got immigrants that they will allow people that wasn't legal immigrants. I'm talking about illegal. Yes, illegal. Doing this last year in Arizona or New Mexico somewhere. I'm not making it up. Let's see. Let's see what the next one.
have renounced their U.S. citizenship and persons that are
So now, if you renounce your U.S. citizenship, so you go somewhere and you renounce your U.S. citizenship, I ain't never renouncing my U.S. citizenship. He said, yes, each time you dump them via text. Text, yeah, I might talk if they're not hostile. Huh? Yeah, no, ain't nothing to talk about. Ain't nothing to talk about other than, no, we cool. Hope you good. We don't go out with no bang. Yeah. Let's see. Talking about you wasn't man enough. No, I ain't got that kind of manhood in me that I'm ready to do jail time or not be able to move freely in the United States. No, I ain't got that much manhood. No. Now let's see what else. Don't renounce your citizenship unless you know the consequences.
are, quote, adjudicated as a mental defective, end quote.
Wow, they say adjudicated as a mental defective. That's harsh. A mental defective? That's some cruel language. What are they saying? If we're depressed, we are a mental defective? I just don't like the terminology, but it is what it is.
The class persons that are adjudicated as a mental defective does not require an order or finding from a judge, magistrate, or other judicial authority to be added to NICS.
So you don't even have your day in court if you consider a mental defective. Like you're defective pieces of equipment. You don't have to go to court. You don't have no rights to fight. They can put you in this category without you having your day in court. Okay.
ATF Regulation 27 CFR Part 478.11 notes that this determination can be made by a court, board, commission, or other lawful authority, and it includes persons who lack the mental capacity to contract or manage their own affairs. Under the VA regulations, the VA has the authority to determine if a beneficiary in a VA program is mentally incompetent. The VA's regulations provide the following definition of mental incompetency, quote, a mentally incompetent person is one who, because of injury or disease, lacks the mental capacity to contract or to manage their own affairs, including disbursement of funds without limitation, end quote. Thus, any person determined by the agency to be mentally incompetent because they need a fiduciary to receive disability benefits payments would in turn be reported to NICS because they would be, quote, adjudicated as a mental defective.
So you're considered to be a mental defective. We're going to stop it right about here. And you're considered to be a mental defective just because you've been assigned a fiduciary, or it's recommended that you have a fiduciary. This is quite interesting. Now, family, we're going to be going over this. We might make this a couple of parts because I don't want to miss any. It's so much information. I don't want to miss anything. So, family, I think I'm gonna stop there where we at. About almost at 24 minutes. let us go. Now, if y'all want to keep going, this is how we'll do it. We'll put in the chat. If you want to finish up the topic for the night, you want to keep going, put a 1 in the chat if you want to keep going. If you want to stop here, put a 2 in the chat. Let us know, family. Let us know. While y'all doing that, I'm gonna read the comments. Now I say, what the blank mental defective, yeah. This is definitely red flag law by BSS. Oh, y'all want to keep it going. I just don't want, when y'all, if it gets too irritating for y'all, let me know and we can cool it out. But I want y'all to know what's going on. But I don't want to upset people because, you know, it can be. Now yet, Secretary of Defense McNamara drafted Forrest Gump, projected 100,000 in 1967. Yes, indeed. The one old man, McNamara, I don't forget him. So they say they want to keep going. So let us keep going. It ain't long. It's just that, you know, this is a lot of detailed information. It's an interesting topic. Let us continue. All right. Let me know if when y'all ready, anybody want to slow it down, let me know. Y'all in charge of this here tonight.
This determination of mental incompetency by the VA is made without any order from a court or judge or finding that the veteran is a danger to themselves or others. At the end of 2023, there was 270,851 active entries in NICS submitted by federal agencies for having been, quote, adjudicated as a mental defective. Of these, 264,893, or 97.8%, were submitted by the VA, though not necessarily all were because of the need for a fiduciary to manage their financial affairs. For veterans appealing the mental incompetency determination, Section 101C2A of the NICS Improvement Amendments Act requires that each federal department or agency that makes mental health adjudications or commitments to mental institutions establish processes in which reported individuals can apply for relief from the aforementioned disability. Beneficiaries requesting relief, though, are not entitled to the benefit of the doubt in the evaluation of a request for relief.
Now that's benefit of the doubt. That's rough. You're not even giving the benefit of the doubt. Huh? Now listen to what they're saying now, family. When we talking about family, when we talking about if you're accused of a crime, you're innocent until proven what? Guilty. But in this case, you're not given the benefit of the doubt. Even with VA claims, if there's evidence for and evidence against, they rule on the side of the veteran. Here, when it comes to you being able to fight this competency thing where you're not able to own firearms to protect yourself, you're not given the benefit of the doubt. Once you're in the trick bag, it's hard to get out. Come on now, family. What's going on here?
The policy of the VA is to deny a request for relief if evidence shows the beneficiary would be a danger to themselves or others if relief were granted. The VA must grant relief if clear and convincing evidence shows that, 1, this beneficiary is not likely to act in a manner dangerous to the public, and 2, that granting relief will not be contrary to the public interest. A provision in the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2024 prohibits the VA from expending any appropriated funds in FY 2024 to report any person to NICS based on mental incompetency without, quote, an order or finding from a judge, magistrate, or other judicial authority of competent jurisdiction that the beneficiary is a danger to themselves or others, end quote. This provision was extended by the 2 continuing resolutions enacted in 2024, and it will expire on March 14th, 2025, unless extended through additional legislation. In addition, this provision does not require removal of names that are already reported to NICS. This concludes my brief remarks. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I look forward to your questions.
Our family, we got about 16, 17 people in here. Smash that like button. We only have 13 likes. Smash that like button, family. Let us know. We cannot put out the information that you need. Smash that like button. usually I don't go over the introductory statements of individuals before the council, but all of this is necessary. All of this is important. And people, you need to know so you're not blindsided about what's going on. You understand? Our brother Kevin says you're guilty until proven innocent. That's how it seems, doesn't it? Now, you notice they don't have the veterans there. I don't think they do. I haven't saw the home video. Remember, this is a reaction video where I haven't really seen it. I'm reacting in real time. I only saw the beginning part of it. Thumper says, Kevin Colbert Sr., facts. Family, we just need to know what's going on. That's why we let you know. Don't throw the messenger over the board of the ship, okay? Like Jonah.
Thank you, sir. The written statement of Dr. Cohen will be entered into the hearing record. Mr. McCormick, sir, you're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Harvey and esteemed members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss a critical issue that impacts our veterans. The constitutional violations within the Veterans Affairs Fiduciary Program related to reporting of veterans to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. You know, our president just gave an inauguration speech where he stated that we need to have a common sense revolution. And I would say that this would be one of those areas that I hope that reaches his desk, because this is not only a matter of common sense, it's also a matter of due process. What part of the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed do bureaucrats not understand? You know, I listen to members of Congress rail about due process on many other areas, but not for veterans. And this is truly a due process issue. The very people who serve, bleed, in many cases die for the rights of every other citizen are denied this basic right. This process allows veterans to lose their Second Amendment rights without due process and based on administrative processes and decisions of policy, not due process and definitely not constitutional law. But it goes deeper than that. There are other violations involved. The First Amendment, veterans may avoid seeking VA benefits or mental health care due to fears of being reported, infringing on their right to petition the government.
Our fellow veteran here is making some powerful points, family. Now, how do you feel about his statements? Do you think he's taking it too far where he said that some people will fear applying for VA compensation benefits because they don't want their rights to be taken away? Do you think this could be leveraged, discourage veterans from filing for the benefits that they so earn? Let us know how you feel about that. All right, put a Y in the chat if you think that that this would discourage veterans, or agree, or whatever. Or if you agree with him, put I agree, or yes, or you can put no, or I disagree. Do you think that our fellow, that this veteran here, he was a captain in the military? Put a Y in there. Okay. Now, wow, family. Hold on, I gotta start with Kevin. Y'all cutting up in there. Kevin says, I agree. Then Albina woman say, yes. Betty Bops. Everybody show love to Betty Bops in the house. Betty Bops in the house. Now, what about Kevin Colbert Sr.? He says yes. He put yes. Okay. Brother Charleston Zimmerman says yes. Now, brother veteran policy plug and Thumper, they had comments. Now, this is interesting. Veteran policy plug say, I agree with him. He's real detailed. Now this is interesting because he was saying that we serve in the way they're treating us. This is why we need veterans going before Congress. And I appreciate the captain being here and speaking out, because we need people that can relate to our experiences of what we've been through. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got a representative and an advocate. We need our own, especially when we going before the Congress. Huh? Watch me plug the channel. That's why we at the H-Town Vet, we want to be supportive. Am I putting my guru game out there? Now, Thumper says this. I think that the retired captain is speaking from the heart and truthfully. That's what I get. Now, Brother Charleston Zimmerman say, and the captain is dressed cool. Look what our brother he said about the other guy, that doctor. He wasn't too kind about it. Look what he said about the doctor that was on before the captain here. Look what he said. He says, who dressed these doctors? Suit don't fit. Oh boy, I ain't gonna say that. But he say the fellow veteran sound like you've been a little biased toward your fellow veterans, huh? Okay. Now Kevin Colbert Sr. say evening Betty Bops is in the building. Yes, she is. Then Bionic Woman says, hi Betty Bops. And now look what he said. He said the captain is Kevin Colbert Sr. say the captain is keeping it 100. You know what's up. You understand? Now let's see what our brother Thumper said. He say we need people with a dog in the fight. Oh yeah, now that's true. We need somebody that has a dog in the fight, not some random clown that going to dance a jig or go along to get along. We don't need no go along to get along. No, I agree with you. Betty Bob say, nice to see you. Let us continue.
The Second Amendment we're talking about. You can strip a veteran of their gun rights without basic due process, and that's for any citizen without a DD-214. The Fourth Amendment, reporting veterans without judicial oversight violates their privacy acts. The Fifth Amendment, veterans lose their rights without due process. 14th Amendment, veterans are treated unequally, lacking the same protection as non-veterans. These violations erode trust and fail to help our veterans, contributing to the stigma.
Hold on now. The captain hit me hard there. And I'm not even saying I disagree with him, but he didn't have to go that. He said the 14th Amendment. Do y'all sometime? He's talking about the 14th Amendment, which I told you the other night was created for those of us that are descendant freemen, the slaves. And the president just mentioned that. But the whole thing, it gave us citizenship. Let me ask y'all as veterans, do y'all sometime feel like when you get back from the military, you're not treated like a full citizen anymore? Have you ever felt like that as a veteran? Isn't everybody thanking you for your service? Let us know. Hold on, I got a little echo up in there. I'm talking too loud. Let me know if you hear loud echo. Let's see. Let's see. Veteran Policy Plug says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Betty Bops. Everybody happy to see Betty Bops. She's brought such a positive energy into the live stream, hasn't she? He said he always felt that way. Like a second-class citizen being a doggone. You a veteran that's fighting to protect other people, but they tell you to get over it. Or did you take somebody's life? You don't ask nobody no question. I don't know why people think they can walk up and say that. Now, I see the captain was infantry. Is that what that badge? I can't see what that badge. What's that badge say? I can't see. How can you tell? Let us know how you can tell. And then Betty Bob says, hello, everyone. Bionic Woman, Kevin Colbert Sr., Thumper, hello. And then Charleston Zimmerman says, hi, Betty Bops. And then Betty Bob say, good evening, Veteran Policy Plug. Now let's hear some more what the captain has to say. Is that all right? Betty Bob say, good evening, Mr. Zimmerman. Tonight is interactive, family, so we're going to be catching your chats.
That discourages them from seeking necessary help. This fear can be devastating, exacerbating, and it also aggravates suicide rates. The current system does not effectively address the mental health challenges veterans face, nor does it reduce the alarming suicide rates. Why should veterans be punished for seeking help? We're not a substandard group of citizens. We deserve the same rights and the due process as any other citizen in America. My family has a long history of service. My grandfather was wounded in World War II. His brother was killed in Korea. My father was wounded twice in Vietnam. He died at 52 years of age of cancer related to Agent Orange. I served in 2 combat theaters of operation, wounded multiple times, and I gave you 2 of my sons to serve this country, and both of them served in combat. We have sacrificed, yet we are denied the basic fairness of due process and constitutional rights afforded to non-veterans when it comes to this. I urge this committee to act swiftly to correct these violations and restore trust in our system so that these veterans will actually seek help because they are worried about losing their rights or being stigmatized as being some kind of a crazy maniac that can't be trusted with a weapon when just a few months before, in some cases, they were patrolling the streets of Afghanistan and Iraq with grenades and rifles and everything else. We have to do better. Lastly, to my fellow veterans and your family members, do not let the fear of losing your constitutional rights keep you from seeking help when you need it. We have your 6. If you are a veteran or you know a veteran that's in crisis, I encourage you, I implore you to reach out for help. Support is available 24/7. Simply dial 988 and press 1 or text 838-255. I thank you for your time and I welcome your questions.
Now, family, have been somebody myself, I appreciate the captain's passionate statement. Having been someone myself who my family has fought in every war in this country, I was in Desert Storm. I have family members that are in right now. And I have family members in Vietnam. I think it was Grenada or something like that. Korea, World War II, World War I. My great granddaddy was in World War I. I have family members that were in the Spanish American War, Civil War, and I'm sure we going back all the way. My people have fought all the way back to Bunker Hill and all that, all the way back to the American Revolution. The first, it's Black History Month, so the first person to shed blood for this country was, was doing that. I almost said his name, Crispus Attucks. He was a black man, a runaway slave. Now, so yes, serving this country is very important for those that can relate to it. For those in power, they may not really have the connection because very few people that are in Congress, their children actually serve in the military, more and more now, but that was an issue, especially about 20 years ago. Now let's see what Charlton say. I first felt as a second class citizen, then working with World War II Vietnam veterans as a federal worker, I got over it. Okay, good. You around people that you can relate to. And let's be honest, when a lot of Vietnam veterans came back, they were called baby harmers and all that type of stuff. And they were really dished hard on the Vietnam veterans. I heard the stories firsthand from them. Now Thumper says, oh, he's about to go in when he took his glasses off. Yeah. He feels some kind of way. Now let's see what Veteran Policy Plug say. Well said, Captain. I am glad to hear him speak truth to power. Look, this is what's so important about it, is that we got somebody that's talking on our side. This is important, family. Now let's see. Kevin Cobar Sr. say, much respect, Captain. So this happened about a week or so ago, week to 2 weeks ago. It may not have been no 2 weeks, about a week or so ago. Now, Veteran Policy Plug say, as a foundation of Black American, we have fought in every war and we deserve the respect. The reason they celebrate, and see, that's why I say this is my channel, so I will be covering things. The Memorial Day was invented by Black people. Okay. The Black Panthers, the first Black Panthers, were a tank division in World War II. All right. General Patton called them in and they handled their business. That's where the term Black Panther comes from. Not a cartoon, not the 1960s, not the 1940s. the Black Panther Tank Battalion, Tank Brigade, I mean. All right, now let's see. Let us continue. Well said, Captain. I had to cut him off. He tried to get me all emotion up in there. I ain't got time for all that. Captain, let it stand down. Put the glasses back on, Captain. Stand down, Captain.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. The written statement will be entered into the hearing record. Dr. Reynolds, sir, you are now recognized for 5 minutes.
Chairman Luttrell, Ranking Member, and distinguished members of this panel, I feel so humbled to be able to sit here and speak to you. I'm just a poor country boy from Alabama. I'm Dr. Reynolds, but my PhD is in statistics. My son is a physician. I'm also a practicing nurse. I became a nurse after I retired as a school superintendent. I'm 78 years old. In Vietnam, I was a combat medic on a helicopter. I've dealt with tragedy, trauma, and death for more than any human being should have. When I finished my education and career, I went and I became an ER trauma nurse because I wanted to treat people and care about people. And I'm here representing a myriad of Vietnam veterans and age groups over 50. I'm 78. And I want to tell you that we are being treated improperly. I heard about all the steps that VA goes through. I can tell you that's a farce. Ask any veteran who's gone through the myriad of problems just to get a minimal disability. It's horrendous. And the older you are, the harder it is to get, even with the presumptives that you've got. But today, I will want to bring you my professional expertise, but also my personal story. Stories shared by thousands of veterans to shed light on the injustice perpetrated on the VA fiduciary program and its unconstitutional impact on all veterans' life. Specifically, I want to highlight the program's flaws. Flawed practice of linking financial incompetency with dangerous and devastating consequences it could have on veterans' lives and livelihood. Under the VA fiduciary program, a veteran can be deemed mentally incompetent if it determines it cannot manage its financial programs. So does a millionaire be less threatening than a person of poverty? It's a gross injustice, and it's a bias against people of lower income. I came from a family of lower income. That's not their fault. I'm the oldest of 12 children. I grew up in poverty. I happened to achieve and was fortunate. I got my achievement because I was in the Army, and I went and used the GI Bill to finish my degree. Determination is almost often made without judicial oversight, without medical oversight. Can I imagine me having, as a nurse, a technician, a clerk, the person that takes the people into the OR, into the ER, determine whether they get medical care or not? That's ridiculous. And that's what we're doing. We're allowing VA clerks to make important decisions that affect life perpetually. I spent decades working in education and finance. As a professional in these fields, I can unequivocally say the financial struggles of mismanaged do not correlate. Statistically, they do not correlate with any propensity for violence or dangerous behavior. Poor people or people economically aren't violent. That's a terrible thing to put on our society. And certainly I don't agree. It's unfair and unconstitutional. Allow me to speak about my personal experience. I returned from Vietnam in 1969 as a 21-year-old mature person, I guess, who'd seen hundreds of deaths. When we picked them up on a helicopter, we brought people back in pieces. I worked in a hospital for some time, and it was devastating. But I didn't have any money. I relied on the GI Bill when I came back to the University of Georgia to pursue my degree. I didn't have any money. I took part-time jobs working in the library. If somebody had looked at my financial situation and reported me to this, as this agency does, I could never have gotten a job in education. I could never, because in Alabama, I'm on the state board, elected State Board of Education in Alabama. We insist on a very stringent background search for everybody we hire. We wouldn't hire me if I had that blemish on my record. You see, my life work has been in education and finance. And if I had been reported to the NCIS, I would not have had the opportunities I have had. So I would just restate the instance that we've had before. The amendments that we're violating, the personal freedom that we're violating, and the due process rights of humanity are being violated, and we need to readdress that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. The written statement of Dr. Reynolds will be entered into the hearing record. Ms. Springer, you're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Chairman Latrell, Ranking Member McGarvey, and
Okay, family, the doctor spoke up. We appreciate his service in Vietnam and his contributions to America. United States. Let me see here. Let me get myself up on the screen. So let's see what Brother Zimmerman, we're gonna take a few of the comments. He said, yes, this is Brother Charleston talking. Yes, the Vietnam veterans with the bow tie talks like the Vietnam vets I work with. There you go. Now, Betty Bob says, I agree with the captain on both sides of my family. We have served, including my son who retired. Did not know that. I think you may have said that, but I must have forgot that. I don't know if you told us that before, Sister Betty Bobs. After 21 years in the Marines, served 2 times in Afghanistan. I'm thinking that's Afghanistan, not Africa. I'm not for sure. Oh, Afghanistan, yes, they say. And then, Brother Charleston Zimmerman, yeah, veterans were blackballed. That's really unfair, And, I think they should do something to take care of that for us. You know how many veterans wasn't given their proper due? I agree. Let us go to the next one. Family, we going through, we at 35, so we got under an hour left. If you got to go, you can come in and come out, but it ain't but an hour or so total, so we're a little less than an hour now of it left. And we're gonna, go through some. I'm gonna stop on key points. Thank you for your patience, family. And thank y'all for showing up tonight. We really appreciate that.
members of the subcommittee, on behalf of the men and women of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States and its auxiliary, thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony regarding this important topic. The VFW strongly supports protecting the constitutional rights of veterans assigned Department of Veterans Affairs fiduciaries and preventing inappropriate assignment to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, or NICS. However, underneath this constitutional rights issue lay a process that stakeholders could substantially improve to both safeguard veterans and ensure due process. Conversation with a former VA field examiner, now a VFW employee, yielded several actionable suggestions based on her experiences in the field. Accordingly, the VFW offers the following recommendations. After VA sends the veteran the proposed incompetency determination letter, require a second medical exam to confirm or refute that proposal and to assess the veteran's probability to cause harm. Not being able to manage one's finances does not necessarily imply a veteran is a danger to self or others.
Now, this fellow veteran, our sister veteran here, Dr. Reynolds, made the most powerful statement of the night. We know that the doctor got down with, the captain got down with it, but she said, I never thought about this. She said, why not have a second exam? Not just the one that the doctor, to verify whether the person is incompetent to handle not just their finances, them able to possess firearms. On top of that, she say what? The same thing that we saying. One is not related to the other. Just because I can't handle my finances don't mean that I won't be able to protect myself or use a weapon for self-protection. Really appreciate that. Real powerful statement from the doctor.
Or could not responsibly own and use firearms. Require VA field examiners to operate in 2-person teams while conducting in-person interviews. To conduct an effective interview, VA field examiners must meet the veteran in his or her environment. Our VA field examiner informed us that this meeting place could range from a veteran's job site to a home. However, the homes she visited included homeless tent encampments in Skid Row in Los Angeles with significant safety concerns. A team would enhance the examiner's personal security and encourage interviews in the veteran's domain, contributing to a more accurate assessment of the veteran's mental state and probability to harm self or others. Reassess all COVID-era fiduciary assignments. Our VA field examiner informed us that they routinely conducted virtual interviews during COVID. A virtual interview, while understandable during a public health emergency,
Now, first thing well, this is the second thing, but first thing that really stands out what she's saying here, which I really like. She said even the homeless veterans, they should be also interviewed in their environment. When does the VA go out there to talk to any of the homeless that are receiving disability benefits? And they need to go out there and talk to them. And the homeless is not as dangerous as people make them. Now, Thumper said, she's right. I'll said it. Just because a veteran can't handle finances, how does that connect to firearms? Real talk. Now, Brother Charleston says, next will be driver's license, especially CDLs. Oh, my brother, let me come up on the full screen. You go in there now, if you give too much information about your VA disability, they'll make you take your test or they'll take your benefits from you. So be careful what you go in there talk about. You don't have to give them any medical. All you have to do is pass their test. Don't be telling them, oh, I'm rated for this, I'm rated for that. You can let them know you're a disabled veteran, get your benefits. But I know one veteran went in there talking about, yeah, I got this and I got that. He had to take the full test over. Now the VA, Wilbo, not dirty their hands. Exactly. They don't want to be out there helping. But I like what she's saying. Yeah, go out there and talk to them veterans that are homeless. Now, Brother Charleston say, don't jinx it. Okay, we ain't gonna jinx it. We ain't gonna jinx it. Knock on wood. Oh boy, y'all too much. Let's get back to what the good doctor's talking about here, Dr. Reynolds. I'm enjoying how she gets straight to the point. Thank you, Dr. Reynolds.
makes it more difficult to detect vital verbal and nonverbal cues that are instrumental to detecting a mental health ailment or to telltale signs of someone likely to harm self or others. Revise all VA letters that inform veterans of VA's proposed fiduciary assignment. Simply and directly explain the significance of the fiduciary assignment, its relationship to NICS referral, and the veteran's appeal rights. Also, VA must send the letters in a timely manner to notify the veteran prior to the field interview. Our VA field examiner was often the one informing the veteran of the fiduciary assignment, its relationship to NICS referral, and the consequent restriction on firearms purchases and ownership. Some veterans reacted angrily when they realized the loss of their Second Amendment rights. In one case, a veteran placed a firearm on the table during the interview to intimidate the VA field examiner, putting her in a potentially dangerous situation while merely doing her job. And as a last step, require a judicial review prior to NICS referral to guarantee due process before infringing on veterans' constitutional rights.
The veteran say you can't handle my weapon. He put the weapon on the table. This is getting out of wild, wild west. And a lot of people are feeling aggravated, so we need to do things to de-escalate. They don't feel threatened. So, I hate bad situations because I do not want anybody, but I don't feel comfortable. Who in here feel comfortable with the VA coming into your house, a VA representative? Who would let us know if you let a VA representative come in your house? Put a Y for yes and a N for no. Would you let them come in and check out your house? It's kind of freezing up, so. So Oh, Thumper say, huh? They checking to see if you can handle your firearms. Family, don't look. Hold on, hold on, hold on. I'm wrong. I need to unblock people now. Hold on. Hold on. Let me get up on this screen. Wait a minute, family. Don't you love the VA? Huh? You ain't gonna speak bad about that VA, are you? Look at all these no's. You say nope from Thumper. Charleston say no. H-Town say no. And Betty Bob say hell no. Wow. Then Veteran Policy Plug say, how can you take away the freedoms that we were sworn to protect? That is kind of, can we put that on a cereal box? On a plaque? We protecting the freedoms, but when you get home, you take the very freedoms that we were sworn to protect. Great statement, our brother. Bonnet Woman says no. She don't want them in her house. I saw one down the street from my house and got paranoid about 5-6 years ago. I don't want nowhere around me. But are we too judgmental? Veteran Policy Plug said no. Bonnet Woman said no. NADA, I don't know what that is. Tell me what that is. Not yet. Thumper says, unless they're doing an inspection to improve, I'll meet you at your office. I want them going to your house. Now, and I'm going to tell you another thing. Tell me if y'all disagree with me. Brother Kevin Cowboy Sr. say, where they do that at? Oh, they come to your house. They will come in when you get a fiduciary over you. They're supposed to come inspect your house. Remember, this is about fiduciary. Somebody being over your money. Watch our video. What is a fiduciary? All right. So they will, they can set up an appointment with you. This is something else. Thumper say Betty Bob. Betty Bob's laughing at Thumper. Now, Thumper says, plug your already know these clowns are trying to run their game and slither around our rights and laws. Now that's what it feels like. Man, this is heavy. Come on, we doing good. We working. We getting toward an hour, so we ain't gonna have we less than an hour. We got probably 50 minutes left. Let's go. Let's continue, family. You say facts. Let's continue.
However, veterans can challenge VA's proposed incompetency determination by requesting a hearing before VA or by submitting additional evidence. Alternatively, veterans can petition VA for relief from the firearms prohibitions imposed by the law. Few veterans exercise these options, and the ones that do are rarely successful. According to a July 2023 Congressional Research Service report, in fiscal year 22, there were 135 hearings on incompetency determinations, 24 of which resulted in competency. The same report noted that VA processed 33 petitions of relief of firearms prohibitions, but did not grant relief in any of these cases. However, 11 veterans who petitioned for relief were determined to be competent and were subsequently removed from NICS. The experiences of our VFW service officers and our former VA field examiner corroborate these statistics. In the case of the VA field examiner, her familiarity with the overall process allowed her to intervene and successfully halt inappropriate NICS referral for some beneficiaries. However, none of her beneficiaries has successfully appealed a NICS referral. And unfortunately, because of the existing process.
Now remember, I believe the C in NICS stands for criminal. And it's not a criminal to be a veteran. It's not a crime to be a veteran. But they put us on the term NICS that deals with crime. And that's unfair too, in my opinion. Let's continue.
So some of our VFW members are hesitant to use VA healthcare. They fear inadvertently making a disqualifying statement or disclosing a disabling condition that could ultimately prohibit their possession or purchase of a firearm. We want our members to use VA healthcare. Unfortunately, this stigma could unnecessarily deprive them of their earned benefits and compromise their health. However, the process changes we propose could preserve the fiduciary program for deserving beneficiaries while simultaneously safeguarding veterans and preventing inappropriate NICS referrals. Chairman Luttrell, Ranking Member McGarvey, this concludes my testimony. I welcome any questions from you or members of the subcommittee.
Thank you, ma'am. The written statement of Ms. Springer will be entered into the hearing record. Master Sergeant Washington, sir, you're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Luttrell, Ranking Member McGarvey, and members of the subcommittee. My name is Master Sergeant Michael Washington, United States Marine Corps, retired. I'm a proud veteran, the second of 4 generations of Marines and numerous other branches of the service in my family. I served as an infantry platoon sergeant and counterintelligence agent for 23 years. As a civilian, I spent 3 decades as a Seattle firefighter. And now I'm a mental health counselor serving veterans and first responders, many of whom are veterans themselves. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you today. On 14 June 2008, as I prepared to go on a fire response on Engine 16 in Seattle, a white government-issue Chevy Suburban with 2 Marines in the front seat suddenly arrived at the station. I knew instantly that they were there to inform me that my son, Sergeant Michael T. Washington of Gulf Company, 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines, had been killed in action in Afghanistan. My world stopped. I didn't know how to feel his loss. I tried to man up as dictated by my culture. My long dormant PTSD, an accumulation of childhood traumas, tragedies witnessed as a firefighter, and my 4 combat tours erupted like a psychological Mount St. Helens. Rather than talk, I drank and I fought, which were acceptable responses in my generational and professional cultures. Eventually, mentally exhausted, I sought an end to the pain. I engaged in risky behaviors, especially riding my Harley Davidson through red lights, hoping for an instant end to my suffering. Finally, I sought release by leaping to my death from a nearby bridge. And just as I was about to go over the railing, I heard my son's voice, plain as day. It said, "Dad, your story doesn't end here. You have work to do." I soaked in his voice and his message, and after a few minutes walked off the bridge, never to return to suicidal ideation. I wasn't fixed by a long stretch, but I was no longer suicidal.
I got to take a short break from that one. That's kind of heavy, for me. I know it might be for others, but let me catch our breath on that one. That's a real powerful story. We're gonna finish up the sergeant major. I think what master sergeant's story. Now listen, Sister Betty Bob say it's a shame I had to contact my state senator about the VA and told her about the old state senator that retired state senator always had to fight the VA. So you had to remind them, yes, indeed. And I feel real sympathy for the colonel here, and the loss of his son, I mean, the master sergeant, sorry. So let us finish up here.
But had I had easy access to a firearm, I would never have had that chance. I wouldn't be able to do the work I do now to help other veterans and first responders. We are experiencing an epidemic of veteran suicides. More than 6,400 veterans died by suicide in 2022. More than 73% involved firearms. This should be an urgent call to action to stop this epidemic. To do that, we must do something about access to firearms in moments of crisis. The background check system is the best tool we have to prevent access to a firearm.
Now, the part that I agree with is in moment of crises. That's what we were talking about earlier with the Baker Act. If you in a situation and you have firearms and you're in a bad place, give them to somebody, a trusted family member, or turn them into somebody they can keep them from you during that time. Anything you can do to harm yourself. So get those items away from you. All right, we appreciate y'all.
But it's only as strong as the information that's in it. When information is left out, people cannot have guns that can get them. For 30 years, until last March, the VA provided information on certain veterans not allowed to have guns under federal law to the background check system with due process protections in place. These were veterans the VA had diagnosed with serious mental health disorders. Of the veterans who died by suicide in 2022, more than 1,500 had been diagnosed with a mental health or substance abuse disorder. Last March, Congress effectively blocked the VA from providing this information to the background check system. There's now a growing number of veterans the background check system knows nothing about, the exact cohort at risk. Congress should think twice before continuing to block the VA like this, or taking other steps to undermine this important tool. But I also want to address other access interventions. Like the continuum of force in the military, these are also a continuum. Some are about creating time and space between someone in a crisis and a gun, secure storage in and outside the home, or giving the keys to gun safes and lock boxes to someone else. Others are about preventing access, like state-level do not sell lists and extreme risk laws. Veteran suicide is a public health issue, not a political one. Both parties understand that. President Trump and President Biden both took steps to reduce veteran suicide, including firearm suicides. This bipartisan work must continue. I am humbled to be of some small service to this cause, the cause that I'm proud to say everyone in this room is dedicated to. My son gave what Abraham Lincoln called his last full measure of devotion to this country and what it stands for, and I aim to continue the fight in his name. I am and I remain at your service. Thank you again, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, sir. Master Sergeant Washington's statements will be entered into the record. We now move to questioning. I recognize myself for 5 minutes. Dr. Cohen, the Supreme Court says that the government must have a very good reason for stripping Americans of their constitutional right. Does the VA, in your opinion, does the VA have good reasons to strip our veterans of their Second Amendment right?
So when it comes to legal scholarship, I can reach out to one of the CRS legislative attorneys and report back. But when it
Nope,
comes,
I've got you right here in front of me. It's all you, buddy.
I, in terms of legal issues, do not, it is not my expertise. But what I can say is that the VA since the 1990s, since the passage of the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, and since the ATF recognized VA policy and VA interpretation of regulations regarding the NICS system to be accurate, and that's how the VA has done it. In many ways, that could be considered to have been done because of either beliefs and underlying causes between being in the fiduciary program, being
Okay, family. Let me catch up on the chat, family, okay? Because we're talking about a lot of issues, and we want to get y'all information in the chat because we want others to hear what you're saying here. Now, let's see. And Brother Zimmerman, Charles Zimmerman, say it's not firearms or motor vehicle. It's about isolation. Now, Thumper, the VA offers free gun locks. They do. And we should always, if those of you that own weapons, keep them in a secure place and keep them, and like I say, keep them out of what Brother Zimmerman says it here. I believe the gun lock and firearm safety for children access. Yes, indeed. Now, Thumper says, so I may sound like a horrible person, but everything the retired sergeant major said has nothing to do with the topic. You're right to disagree because I don't. Everybody got their opinion, but he giving his, everybody give theirs, and your opinion is important too. You know what I'm saying? I understand his pain and what he went through, and we respect that. But at the same time, we have our positions on things. Because the fact that the VA don't let everybody know about our personal business, I think that's important. And that's one thing that helps veterans tell. But if the VA hospital gave everybody your personal medical business, business, that would cause problems. We wouldn't trust nothing they did, right? But usually they don't, to my knowledge. Now let us continue. We can caught up on that. Family, we appreciate y'all being in here, and we thank y'all for these. If you just come into the room, smash that like button, and we appreciate you. Let me see here. Get them back up on the screen.
Somebody who needs fiduciary to manage their disability benefits. It also could be done in terms of like viewed as an automation issue in the sense that once the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act was passed, these agencies were not given unlimited funds to hire like something like a quote unquote NICS reporter. And so a lot of agencies just tried to make the policy as seamless as possible, the reporting as seamless as possible. And the Fix NICS Act of 2018 also very much emphasized that agencies should do their best to automatize reporting to NICS and to kind of take any thought really out of it and just have a.
I'm agreeing, Brother Zimmerman. That seat looked like he got on his Big Brother suit and that shirt, that tie. I shouldn't be focused on it, but that tie looked like it's too small for him. I mean, shirt, the collar too big. Now let's see our brother say here. He said, family, this is a great topic, H-Town Vet. Good night, everyone. I know you got to go to bed, brother. Look at it on the replay, and we wish you the best. Get your rest.
Very systematic approach.
Mr. McCormick.
Yes, sir.
So when it comes to the fiduciary process with the VA, and Mr. McGarvey and I have absolutely been digging into a very deep hole trying to figure out at the granular level the problem set here. The waters are extremely muddied from start to finish. Can you walk me through, because we have in a sense that by the time the veteran gets to the fiduciary threshold, there has been a process in place that has picked apart every single aspect of that veteran's life. I'm like, okay, we're here. My concern is what we don't know, and it's like, and what the ranking member says is like, what really happens? Can you give me in your opinion, is there enough meat on the bone from start to finish, or because veterans' rights are just as important as any other American's rights. So the fact that this is happening and we don't have the processes in place that we think are there, can you walk me through, in your opinion, what that looks like?
Well, I can walk you through in my knowledge of seeing other people go through the process. That many times the information flow from the VA back to the veteran is not consistent. So there are many veterans that are, in there asking for assistance, whether it be for a mental issue or whether it be for a physical issue, and then they run into an issue with finances, managing their own money. Then they end up in a position to where, they are reported. And as far,
hold on, I'm trying to keep a straight face, but Baby Bob's out of control. She talking about Dr. Colin. Colin, look. I'm trying to keep a straight face, man. I'm trying to take serious on this. Look what Baby Bob said. She said, Dr. Colin, don't look like he's wrapped too tight. Look, we don't even be picking on the doc. He's a PhD though. Then Bonnet Woman says, good night, Veteran Policy Plug. Oh Lord, it reminds me from the guy. Look what Thumper say. He reminds me of the guy from Beetlejuice with the shrunken head. Boy, y'all out of control. We got to say something cheerful around here because we're dealing with such a serious topic. Oh, but Baby Bob said, I agree. Oh, Lord. Dr. Conan has become he's become the topic of conversation. Who dressed him? You know how we say in my community, who raised you? We want to know who dressed him. Oh, let's see our brother getting on. He say, now, family, play nice. Yes, indeed. Let us get back focused. I do apologize. I take full responsibility for my actions, but it was peer pressure. Okay, back to what we're talking about.
Far as this lengthy process that was just brought up in the beginning of this, that's the first that we've really seen. But I can tell you that I have a very close personal interaction with this, where a young man was placed on this list and inadvertently was denied a job as a police officer and denied the right to purchase a firearm. Now, that was quite a shock to that person, quite a shock to his dad.
Did he say at any time that he was aware that that was going to be the circumstances of a fiduciary?
No, sir. He had no idea.
Ms. Springer, can you back that up with when the veterans receive their VA notices? It seems like there's an inadequate explanation on exactly where they're headed. Can you add some amplifying information, please?
Yes, certainly. And I'm referring to an actual proposal of incompetency letter from one of our case files.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have some real data here. I will compliment VA in that on the second page, though, they do have a heading that says how this decision could affect you. So I do think VA could rewrite these letters just a little bit more
VA has a
simply.
problem with letters going to veterans, and it
Yes.
takes you 5 or 6 lawyers in order to get through it. I got that. But
Yes.
in that letter right there on that second page, would you read me that?
Okay, there's a heading on the second page that says how this decision could affect you. And that decision is referring to VA considering if this person should be deemed incompetent and then have a fiduciary. And it's very wordy. It's under federal law.
Could be or will be.
It is. Oh, could you say again, please?
Could be or will be.
How this decision could affect you. What I'm referring to is what's called a proposal of incompetency. That's one of the first steps in the process. So VA is proposing to the veteran that you may be incompetent and you may ultimately get a fiduciary. And it allows the veteran to respond to this letter within a 60-day period.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. McGarvey, sir, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr.
Now, here's the thing. The issue is this. In that 60 days, because whenever they decide to, are proposing, it's a proposal. When the VA is trying to propose to reduce you, they got to give you a notice. So this is a notice that they're proposing to put a fiduciary over your benefits. When you go to get a reduction, they propose to give you they're proposing that you might receive one. You're going to have a certain amount of days to rebut what they're saying. That's when I say go to your outside doctor, go to your VA doctor that know that you're competent, and get that doctor to write a statement saying that you can handle your finances and you should be all right. And let me tell you, I've had it happen with a couple of veterans. And if one doctor won't do it, find another one that will. Because somebody that knows that you're able to handle your finances. Now, Betty Bob say, I take full responsibility. Veterans are the only ones that we look like we have ourselves together, yeah. And Betty Bob say, casket sharp. Yes, indeed. We gonna get him. We gonna get a makeover for the doctor. We gonna let him alone because our brother say, now let us continue. We
Mr. Chairman, and first of all, I want to thank everyone for their service, your continued service to our country. Master Sergeant Washington, please know we are especially grateful to you and sorry, terribly sorry for your loss. I think one thing you're hearing from me and the chairman is we want to make sure that this process is also working for our veterans and that there is clear information. I want to also point out a couple of things here after the testimony that you all correct me. We've been asking, we want to get this right. When you go through this process, through the disability process because of incompetency in particular, we have not found a single instance of a veteran who has had their firearm confiscated because of this issue alone. And so I do think it's important for some, because we don't want veterans not seeking treatment under the idea that that might happen. It has never happened. And if we are wrong, please tell us when that has happened and why. I also want to talk a little bit about the constitutionality of this, only because this is the first time in my tenure in Washington that on the dais and on the panel, I'm the only lawyer. Every time there's always more lawyers at the table. And I just want to say that this provision has never been found to be unconstitutional. And there has been lots of litigation around firearms. There are lots of think tanks and there are lots of groups out there who are interested in bringing these types of lawsuits. And so while there might be different opinions on the constitutionality of it, the fact is that under the current law in the United States, it is not unconstitutional. So I just want to clear that up as well. I want to talk a little bit about what goes on in the NICS database currently. And Dr. Cohen, for you, I just want to summarize. The VA's determinations, it is a lengthy process. By the time you are determining competent and then looking for a disability benefit for that incompetency, which is what we're talking about here today, the VA's determinations are based on the medical evidence of record and not arbitrary, correct?
Medical record does play a role in the process.
It's the part of the process, right? They're here because they've gone in for treatment. They have been deemed incompetent. Now they're looking for a disability because of that incompetence. And so, yeah, the medical record plays a big part of this. And I want to reiterate that the VA does not,
Congressman, if I
actually,
can-
it's my time.
Oh, please,
It's
please,
my
go ahead.
time.
Yeah.
Thank you
Doctor,
very
sir,
much.
doctor, you're not recognized.
Okay.
I want to reiterate that the VA did not make up this idea.
Wow, some doctor with that other guy, I guess he hadn't talked. He just bust up in there. Doesn't he know he in Congress? Now I'm gonna go down here. Our brother Charleston says, I'm not a lawyer, but sounds like a Fourth Amendment issue being secured in personal property taking without due process. And then Thumper say Second, Fourth Amendment, and probably a few more. I can't believe the guy one of the other doctors just started interrupting the congressman. That's interesting.
To report beneficiaries deemed mentally incompetent. And they're obligated to do so under the Gun Control Act of 1968, mentioned in your report, Dr. Cohen, and the Brady Act. And what we're talking about here today and the Kennedy Amendment does not change or repeal either one of those laws. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Kennedy Amendment, it does not repeal the Gun Control Act or the Brady.
So I just want to point out that when we're talking about this process, we are talking about protecting veterans, we're talking about all these sorts of things. A lot of this is window dressing. There are other things in play, and you can disagree with them, but this is what's actually happening and what's going on behind it.
I want y'all to make sure y'all look at the number behind there. Let me know if you knew about the Veteran Crisis Line 988, then and press 1. If you've heard of that before, put a yes in the chat. If you haven't heard of it, put a no in the chat. You see behind the congressman, the Veterans Crisis Line, call 988 and press 1. Let us know if you've heard of that before. If you have, put a yes in the chat. If you haven't, put a no. Okay, Brother Charleston has not heard of it. H-Town didn't. I haven't. And Betty Bops have. Who else have heard of that? Look up on the screen. Thumper say yes, he's heard of it. Well, let's keep it clear there, Thumper. Let's chill out on the comments on the doc. We don't want to get too rough on him, okay? Now here we go. Bionic Woman says yes. All right. Oh, you were searching for something on va.gov. Okay, so you was looking for something on va.gov. Okay, that's how you found out about the crisis, because they didn't send me anything in the mail. I guess none of y'all received anything in the mail. God, this is the first time I'm hearing of it, or maybe I've heard of it and I thought it was just a regular crisis. I didn't know they had a hotline just for veterans. This ain't that same one that the self-harm hotline. This is different or what? Let's see.
I have just a little bit of time left, and I want to focus again on the health of our veterans, because what we're all trying to do here is do what is best for our veterans. Now, Sergeant Washington, I want to thank you again for sharing your story. You talked a little bit about some of what happened in your own life. Can you elaborate on your experience with service-connected disabilities and how we might be able to go about mitigating some of those risk factors you experienced in the next 36 seconds?
Yes, sir. My experience actually was pretty streamlined, because I think the government was in the mode of clearing the backlog. That's just my opinion. There was a backlog of PTSD claims and things like that through the VA. So I felt that my process went fast and was well served. And I talked to a mental health professional who listened to my story and then gave his opinion. And that's what it looked like. So it seemed to work out pretty well in my case. I know that's not everybody's case.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Mace, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and honored to be here today, serving on your committee. I was the first one here, by the way. So, and I want to thank everyone who's here with us this afternoon. Thank you for your service. Thank you for sharing your personal stories of pain. It's very difficult for me to hear that as a mom. It's very tough. So I want to thank you all today. It's very clear to me that VA's definition of mentally incompetent has nothing to do with mental health and everything to do with the simple fact that veterans need help balancing their checkbooks. It's a stigma to assume veterans are dangerous or suicidal simply because they have a mental illness. Every veteran with a mental illness deserves to be treated like an individual with individual needs. And we can't make sweeping policy changes based on harmful generalizations about disabled veterans, and policies must be based on real evidence. And the VA's fiduciary program fails to consider any evidence of dangerousness and fails to provide veterans with due process. And we've got to correct it now. I actually think it's great that there's only one lawyer on this subcommittee.
I like the fact that she gets straight to the point and straight to it and talk about it. And I appreciate that from this Congress lady.
And that were no offense. So you spent a lot of time and money in law school, I'm sure. But I think it's a good thing that we have, that not everyone here is an attorney, that we can ask some of the basic, most common sense questions about policies for veterans. We have many veterans on this committee who can also get into the heart of it. Under current VA procedures, veterans' rights are stripped from them by a purely administrative rather than judicial process. Under these procedures, veterans' rights are unjustly stripped from them, and Congress must right this wrong. And we must also make sure that the VA is working for our vets and not against them. So my first question is for Ms. Springer today. Do you think there may be survivors of military sexual trauma who hesitate to seek VA mental health care because of the risk the VA could strip them of their rights?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. I would.
Oh, did she get right into it? Family, did she go right into it? Because think about it. If a veteran that's a mental health situation when they have military trauma, and if they fearful that they're not going to have some ways to protect themselves especially because of what they went through, you're going to strip their right to protect themselves, or they're going to want to go in and talk about it, talk about what they've been through. If that's going to be used to strip them of their Second Amendment rights. Very good question, Congress lady. Very good question. I appreciate everybody on the panel today, but very good question. I'm just reacting to this in real time because I didn't know she was going to say that.
Broaden that to actually just all veterans in general are VFW members, not just
Mhm.
specifically MST survivors, because of the perception, whether true or not, that if they say the wrong thing, if they present a disability and condition, it could go from there to the NICS incompetency determination, then to a fiduciary assignment, and then to NICS.
My next question is for Dr. Simondera. Is it difficult for veterans to prove they're not dangerous in order to convince the VA to remove them from the next list?
I think you've seen the statistics that when we get to this question of whether the veteran is a danger or not, that really only comes into play if the veteran applies or files a petition for relief of disability, of which, according to statistics that we've seen from the VA, very few veterans, I mean, in the less than 100 a year, do that. At no other point in this process, from the very beginning to the determination of incompetency, to all of the appeals up to the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, et cetera, none of that addresses the issue of whether the veteran is a harm, potentially a harm themselves or others. It's only if you file the petition for the relief of disability, then VA looks at a number of factors to determine that level of risk.
Okay. Captain McCormick, my question for you today, do veterans receive due process before the VA reports them to NICS?
Absolutely not.
And what roadblocks do veterans experience in the appeals process?
Multiple. It's a timely and it's a costly process that, you know, you're asking a veteran to go and fight to re-secure the very rights that they serve to defend and protect. So you're stripping them of a constitutional right. That's a fact. And then you're asking them, well, you got an opportunity, you can go and fight for it. Well, I guess we could pull you over, arrest you for something and say, well, you can always fight to get your right of freedom back. And I think that's the issue, is the level of fairness and the lack of due process as far as the judicial process. It's just ultimately unfair.
Does it erode trust in the VA for veterans?
100%, 100% erodes trust in the VA.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Mays. Ms. Dexter, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
He says, again, the Second Amendment is for defending, because it do talk about militia. It is talking about, you know, we've made it for the individual, but it actually talks about like being an armed militia in your neighborhood if something happened, if the military is not able to do it. For it's the defending country. Fourth Amendment is for firearm ownership. I think it's Second Amendment. He said, I know second is a trigger. No pun intended, right? All right, we 2/3 done, family. We're almost done. Now let's see the second that we.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you first to you and Ranking Member McGarvey for having this important hearing. I very much appreciate it. And to our witnesses, thank you all for your service and for being here. It's extremely important. As a former VA healthcare physician, I witnessed firsthand the importance of having a well-functioning system, and you've highlighted some of the challenges to that. I also witnessed the devastating impacts of access to firearms for our veterans, many of whom were struggling with mental health conditions and not getting the care that they needed or the advice that they needed. The one thing that I really want to elevate from Master Sergeant Washington's compelling and heartbreaking testimony is that moment of time that he was given, that opportunity to turn back. And what we know is that people with access to firearms will, in that moment of despair, lose that opportunity to turn back. I take care of people in the intensive care unit. These are folks who have survived, and almost none of them are firearm victims. So my first question, Master Sergeant Washington, is can you comment on whether it would benefit veterans to ensure that every VA healthcare provider receives lethal means safety counseling training?
Personally, I think absolutely.
So let's see what she's saying. What she's saying is, should anybody that's helping veterans in the healthcare side of the situation receive this type of training to help deal with veterans who might have the desire or potential at risk for self-harm? Now, about to answer that question, then we'll get to you. Orman George is in the house.
That would be beneficial. Just to give the information, if I understand your question, just counseling, right?
Counseling.
Yeah. To get the information that, here's some of the risk factors, here's what's going on, here's what's of danger to you. Why wouldn't anybody want to hear that?
Great.
Why would that be harmful?
Thank you, Master Sergeant Washington. And would it also be beneficial for community care providers to receive this training?
Again, I think that would be a bedrock, just getting that information straight from the beginning. My mantra is training, safety, and accountability with firearms. Training, safety, and accountability with firearms.
100% agree. Not talking about taking them away, but making
No,
sure
ma'am.
people are safe.
Not at all.
Very good. And in preventing veteran suicide, Master Sergeant Washington, as you have said, veteran suicide is an epidemic in this country. It is unacceptable in my mind. It's a tragedy that an average or more than 17 veterans die per day of suicide. We have to do better by our veterans, and I think we're all in agreement in that. It'll require, again, putting that time and space in that moment of the lowest point in someone's life and an action they could take. Based on your personal experiences, how can the VA and VSOs work together to provide veterans that time and space and make meaningful progress in addressing veteran suicide rates in this country?
Well, that's a great question. I think part of it is what we're doing right now, having these hard conversations. Right now, I'm hearing two very opposite ideas of what the system looks like and what it's doing and what it's not doing. So I appreciate that we're here having the conversation. And also in my spoken testimony, we are about safety and securing our weapons. And if somebody's in crisis, being able to turn their weapons over to a friend or a colleague, a trusted advisor, or to the VFW, just getting them out of their hands so they don't make that permanent decision for that temporary problem. That's what it's all about. And so there's a number of fronts that we move forward on to protect our veterans, some of whom, like myself, been in those dark times and where we are quite literally on a bridge.
Thank you so much. I just want to state that as we discuss next in the fiduciary program, it's really important that we remain laser focused on the goal of ensuring our veterans and their families are protected from harm, and really appreciate the testimony today. With that, I yield back. Thank you.
Now, what I want you to remember, that his situation did not involve the Second Amendment or firearm. It involved him being on a bridge, from what I can recall. And so it's really the important part is getting help and treatment, because you never know which way a person. We can't prevent people from finding anything that could be a weapon. So we need to really reach out for the ones that need, the people that need help, and look for the signs. Now let's pull up Orman George. He's in the house. He said, "I am very careful what I say to the VA that documents everything you say in the VA notes, and can and will be used, and can and will use it against you, especially in a mental health CMP examination." But you need to let them know if you feel like self-harm, you let them know. Ain't nothing wrong with letting them know in there. Now, the issue becomes, Orman George, if you got any intent to do something to yourself right then, or you a danger to yourself at that point. That's that from my experience. But I respect your opinion too, brother. Now, Betty Bob say, Orman George, I agree. And then hello, Orman George. Now we got less than 30 minutes. We got about 25 minutes left. Let's finish up the video.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Self, sir, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make sure I'm in the right hearing. We've heard a lot of issues here, but the memo that I was given says we are correcting VA's violations of veterans' due process and Second Amendment rights. Is that what this hearing is about? Thank you. Dr. Cohen, for you,
Now, I appreciate this congressman getting on the real deal. They talking more about fiduciaries than about protecting veterans' right to bear weapons. And I appreciate this congressman bringing it back, Congressman Self. I appreciate that because they dancing around. Let's get to the issue. The issue is, and that's our question for tonight, right? Should veterans be fearful of losing their Second Amendment rights? And they're talking about protecting them here, right? Let's talk about it. Let's see what his question is to the individuals. Now, our brothers say Army George, the colonel said first was on a motorcycle, second was a bridge. Wow. Okay, didn't I? Wow. Okay. Oh, this was more than one attempt. I didn't know. I forgot. Okay. Wow, that's heavy.
are there other groups of Americans that have similar processes that do not constitute what most of us consider the constitutional high bar to take away one's Second Amendment rights? Are there other groups of Americans that have this same low bar?
So just clarification for my own purpose, are you asking like are other?
We treat veterans one way. Is there another group of Americans that we treat the same way without judicial or medical review?
Right, so because
What Congressman Self is asking him that they put this on a veteran without having any other medical professional or anybody else reviewing that the veteran is about to be put on a fiduciary, their weapons, their Second Amendment rights might be taken away from them without any recourse, without any judge, without any lawyer, without anything. So he's asking them a direct question, but Dr. Conan, let's see how he responds.
because of 18 USC 922G, the 9 classes, a lot of the classes are by definition require some sort of judicial review or court order. So for example, like
The question is real simple. Is there another group of Americans, another class of Americans that are treated like our veterans? Yes or no?
I mean, I get like,
Who would like to answer that question? Yes, sir. Dr. Reynolds.
I don't think so.
I suspect that is the answer. Thank you so much.
And
Now,
may I clarify?
no, just a
Thank you,
second.
sir.
Thumper says the old jump masters, because if y'all notice on his collar, on the propel, he got the. I didn't notice that until Thumper said something. He might be a jump master. Is he a jump master? Because that means he had over 100 jumps, right? What is it to be a jump master? You have to parachute out a plane 100 times. Say the old jump master is straight to the point. Love it. Yeah. And the guy would not answer the question straight. There's no other group that they restrict their Second Amendment rights the way they do military. And there's people that have mental health problems. I just don't get it.
We've heard some things here about settled law. When was, and this may be for Dr. Cohen as well, when was the last time the Supreme Court ruled on this issue? The Warren Court?
as I mentioned earlier, I don't cover legal issues at CRS, so I can't.
Exactly. So we are in a constitutional issue here that we are discussing, and as far as I know, Supreme Court's never ruled on it. we need to, Dr. Cohen, if I heard your testimony right, you are satisfied with the legal procedure to do this. And I looked at your written testimony, I heard your spoken testimony. You are satisfied, if I understand you right, that this is proper.
I've not given an opinion as such. I am just straightforward saying this is how the process works. I'm not saying the process is good, bad, or otherwise, just that this is what the process looks like.
And is it true that we put, and I want to remind people of what the NICS is, because I heard some mental health issues, mental health mentioned earlier. This is the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. We need to remember what this is, criminals. So I think, Captain McCormick, do we put veterans in?
That was the point I was making to y'all earlier, family, that this is meant for criminals. Why they got us something associated with something that's associated with criminals? And when we may not even be criminals in most cases. And like our brothers say, Dr. Colin look flustered. He does. He's a Bieber, Baba Bieber. Yes, indeed. Now, I want to hit this whole question, so I'm gonna move it back just a little bit. I want to hear the question he has for the captain. I think it's the captain. Let's get to it, family.
Captain McCormick, do we put veterans into this National Instant Criminal Background Check System with absolutely no evidence that they are a danger to anyone?
Yes, sir, you do. And you also label them as a criminal because you put them on that list.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Crane, sir, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to wave onto this committee today. Thank you to you guys for showing up. Let's just get this straight right now. What is this hearing that we're having really about? It's really about whether or not unelected bureaucrats can strip away Second Amendment God-given rights from our veterans if they need help managing their finances or their assets. Is that correct? I think it is. All right. This is wrong in so many ways. And what I'm hearing my colleagues on the other side of the aisle say is that, well, we're concerned about veteran suicide. And so since most of them are committing suicide with firearms, we need to have measures and tools to, take those firearms away from them. That's what I'm hearing. What about civilians that are committing suicide and using firearms? Are we going to also argue in this body that they should have their firearms and their Second Amendment rights taken away from them? I looked up fiduciary, and here's a quick summary definition. Someone who is legally obligated to act solely in the best interest of another party managing their assets or affairs. There are many people I know, and I'm sure many of you know people out there that need help managing their assets or their affairs. I'm sorry, but I don't remember in the Constitution where it says if somebody needs help managing their assets or their affairs, that they should have their Second Amendment rights taken away from them. And when it comes to suicide, a lot of these individuals, a lot of veterans, and there's 4 of us on this panel right now that are not only veterans, but we're all from the special operations community who I think are against this will tell you this right now. Many of our veterans that are struggling with PTSD and have some of these issues that we're talking about here today, one of our biggest issues is fear and trauma because we thought we might lose our life or we lost our life in battle against other people with guns. If you want to increase veteran suicide, take some of these issues who are afraid, isolated, and alone and take away their ability to defend themselves. That's a really good way to actually increase what these guys say that they're trying to stop. All right. I want to ask you guys a question.
Okay, Congressman Crane is a veteran and several law. I got wow. Before you ask this question, do you think if they restrict the rights of more veterans, do that make you feel safer? I know that we need a solution to this. Do you get his point? Would you feel safer if they say, well, he the GOAT, yeah, He's speaking on behalf of veterans, so he can't be too bad. Would you feel safer by them restricting the Second Amendment rights of more and more veterans without doing it in a very selective way? So let's see what his question is.
At any point, does the VA have to establish that a veteran is a threat to themselves or a danger to others when administratively reporting a veteran with a fiduciary to NICS, which again is the National Instant Criminal System? No. Okay, thank you. Does having a fiduciary alone mean that someone is mentally incompetent or mentally deficient?
No.
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 Is there
No,
any
but-
data, hold on, is there any data correlating having a fiduciary or being associated with increased risk?
I want to replay that. Just about done too, family. But I want to replay what his questions.
If you want to increase veteran suicide, take some of these issues who are afraid, isolated, and alone, and take away their ability to defend themselves. That's a really good way to actually increase what these guys say that they're trying to stop. All right. I want to ask you guys a question. At any point, does the VA have to establish that a veteran is a threat to themselves or a danger to others when administratively reporting a veteran with a fiduciary to NICS, which again is the National Instant Criminal System?
Now, meaning, because they saying the veteran is recommended for a fiduciary, has a fiduciary, that means they can't handle their finances. Do they have to send some statement to NICS, the criminal thing where you can't get your weapon, saying that this person is a threat? They don't even have to say you're a threat, vets. They don't even have to say you're a threat. They just got to say you got a fiduciary over you, so you shouldn't be able to do it. So let's see. That's my opinion. Let's see what their answers are.
No. Okay, thank you. Does having a fiduciary alone mean that someone is mentally incompetent or mentally deficient?
No.
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 Is there
No,
any
but-
data, hold on, is there any data correlating having a fiduciary or being associated with increased risk of homicide or suicide?
No.
No.
Those three quick answers right there show the American people exactly what's been taking place here. Violation of Second Amendment rights without due process.
Now, hold on. I got to come up on the screen, family. Wait a minute. All the time, they was leading us to believe that this fiduciary thing is necessary, but then everybody turn around and say no. So what we talking about? It sounds like deception. He made them come out and tell the truth. So what were they alluding to? Interesting. Now, our brothers say that Mr. Crane is the GOAT. Yes. And Thumper said, let me see. I like as he would you see the same civilian or non-veteran. And Brother Zimmerman says all about them Benjamins, them dollars, them dead presidents. Let us finish up.
Captain McCormick, is it due process to have unelected bureaucrats making a designation about a veteran's mental state or, need of a fiduciary? Is that due process, sir?
No, sir, it's not.
Why do you think it's important that, for our constitutional God-given rights to be stripped of us, why do you think it should be necessary to have due process, sir?
Well, so that we can ensure that that doesn't happen, because if it happens to us, it looked like we're almost in this socio class that they're testing this on almost. And I'm not trying to be, have a conspiracy theory, but we're the only class of citizens that they do this to.
Yeah, and my colleague, Mr. Self over here, believe you're Special Forces, is that right, Mr. Sill? Yeah, he brought up, is there any other class of people that's treated this way?
No.
No. Why is it fair for veterans to be treated this way?
Not.
It's unfair.
How many veterans have lost their Second Amendment rights, to your knowledge, Mr. McCormick, because of these, overreaching VA regulations?
I think the number was just over 270,000, sir.
Yeah, that's what I saw as well. And that's why this is my bill, HR 496, that would not only stop the VA from doing
Well, 270,000? 270,000 veterans, they lost their second and basic, like you say, Fourth Amendment rights. Excuse me? Wow. Now listen to what our brothers say. If they're allowed to take VA money away, it's okay with firearms. Wow. Well, we learning what's going on here, family. We want you. What he used to say on the G.I. Joe, knowledge is power. Let us hear some more here.
doing this in the future, but would restore the God-given constitutional rights to these veterans. We need to get behind this, and I hope my
And
colleagues.
he's talking about the bill he's trying to pass to protect veterans' Second Amendment rights. This is out of control. Yeah, it's out of control. Yeah, we didn't know this though.
On the other side of the aisle, many of them who are not veterans, would take it maybe from the veterans up here who are saying, hey, this isn't the way to do it. And Mr. Washington, God bless you, sir. Thank you for your service. And I am dearly sorry for the loss of your son. I mean that. But Mr. Washington himself said when he was feeling suicidal, what did he say? He was running red lights on his motorcycle, hoping that somebody would end it quickly, or he was thinking about jumping off a bridge. So let's be really clear in here right now. If we're going to have tough conversations, let's have tough conversations. There are numerous, countless ways to commit suicide. Taking firearms and constitutional rights from veterans away is not going to help. It's actually going to hurt our veteran community. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Dr. Morrison, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the witnesses, both for your service and for being with us today.
We have 15 minutes left on this, family, about 15 minutes. So we're about done. Thank you for your patience. For those of you that have been able to hang in here, we thank you. And this has been very informative, I hope. Now, let me ask you this here. If it's been, if you learn something new from this Senate hearing, give us a thumbs up. But if it's something that you already knew, no, just don't, you ain't got to say nothing. But if you learn something new, because some of you are very aware of these things.
To talk about this important issue. I'm a physician by training, and my husband is an Army combat veteran, a former Army Ranger. So veteran suicide is an issue that concerns me deeply and greatly. And I'm genuinely interested, and I apologize that I had to step away to another hearing. But I'm genuinely, is the single biggest, most important thing that Congress could do to decrease veteran suicide.
Can I comment?
Please.
Create more efficiency in the VA for treatment.
Now, I'm going to ask you that before they answer, family. I want you to tell us, in your opinion, what are some of the things that can be done to prevent veteran suicide? I use the word this time. What can be done to stop veterans from harming themselves? You are the veteran, so you should know. Let us know, family. And everybody show Brother Coasty in the room. Show love to Coasty. Thank you, Coasty, for being here. What can be done, family? What can be done? What can we do to help our fellow veterans? The reason I got this forum, so you have a place to express yourself. Hold on, he said, it's making me double click, so it's hard to do it, family. Send out to the community and, okay. Oh, she said, and no wait times. So community care and no wait times. You're talking about mental health. So you think we should be able to go outside the VA for mental health using community care, right? And no wait times and no year wait. Yes. Okay. Brother Charleston say, if it was brought up about firearms, this hearing wouldn't even be. All right. Thumper say Coastie. Okay. Betty Bob say yes. Y'all learn some stuff off. I have too. I truly have. Now let's see the question that she asked.
Treating the problems we have medically. You're a physician, I'm a nurse, you didn't hear that.
My husband is an Army combat veteran and a former Army Ranger. So veteran suicide is an issue that concerns me deeply and greatly. And I'm genuinely interested, and I apologize that I had to step away to another hearing, but I'm genuinely interested in hearing from each of you, if there's time, what is the single biggest, most important thing that Congress could do to decrease veteran suicide?
Can I comment?
Please.
Create more efficiency in the VA for treating the problems we have medically. You're a physician, I'm a nurse, you didn't hear that, but you were not here. But I can tell you, I'm a professional educator, I'm a statistician. You don't deal with the problems at the root level, you drive people to suicide. I am, 1993, I faced the intention of committing suicide by taking Seconal. Because of my relationship, I got it. I got 300 Seconals from my friends. And suicide and weapons are tangential, but not the problem. I took 25 years to get my disability. I've been all the way to courts here in Washington. A lot because of my ability to be politically and socially astute.
This Vietnam veteran, it took 25 years to get their VA disability. I want to ask you, from your time that you got out of the military until now, family, I want to know how many years it took him, Dr. Our good doctor here, Dr. I forget, not Dr. Reynolds, the one that's the Vietnam veteran. I can't see his name right now. Let me see. Captain McCormick. It took him 25 years. How many years did it take you after you got out the military to get your benefits? I'm gonna count on mine. Let me see. Put the number of years it took you to actually get your benefits. And you don't have to put the effective date, meaning the actual date. You know, you actually got the award letter in your hand, not what they went back to. How many years did it take? Let me see. 10. Uh, 16 years, I think it took me. How many years did it take you to get your benefits from the time you first when you first got out? Well, I guess when you first applied. So if I do it from when I first applied for my benefits, hold on, you know, that claim, that was about 5 years, I guess. Wow. Now let's see. Yes, Dr. Reynolds nailed it. She did. Now we veterans don't matter. That's what it sounds like. Dr. Reynolds is the one speaking. Oh, he's Dr. Reynolds. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. So that's Dr. Reynolds. I the way it's adjusted, look like it's her. Okay, Dr. Reynolds, thank you for letting me know that. Thumper say Dr. Reynolds is the one speaking. He is the Vietnam vet. Okay, gotcha. I apologize for the misunderstanding because I can't tell. You know, they going from an angle. I am sorry. McCormick nailed it. Now I think that's the man is Dr. Reynolds. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not for sure. I'm confused now. 25 years is awful. Year and a half for Kevin Colbert Sr. Took me 5 years. Took Brother Charleston 2 years to get his VA after he filed VA compensation. Hearing only, copy, still waiting. Okay, still waiting. Okay.
And get my way. Veterans are ignored. Veterans are suffering. The people say to me, thank you for your service, but they don't act it. The bureaucracy that exists in veterans and the idea that a clerk the testimony was made earlier that yes, medical testimony goes into the determination, but a medical person doesn't do it. Nobody with psychological training does it. And that's the error of this whole thing. We're turning it over to inept, ill-trained, and bureaucrats. And I resent that as a combat medic. It's stupid.
Thank you, sir. Others?
I would just echo with what he said. Again, when you talk about the meaning of this whole hearing, it's about due process. You're stripping these veterans of their dignity. You're stripping them of their right to their Second Amendment right that they serve to protect and defend. That's not helping at all. That's hurting more than it's helping. You're preventing them from getting jobs. My own son can't become, he had a job that he was supposed to become a police officer. Now he can't become a police officer. Why is that? Well, because he went to combat, served this country. He had some problems and he came back and he got some counseling. Again, the stigmatization, the over-stigmatization. We're all unstable, crazy, and all of these other things that I've heard since I've returned from my combat tours in 04, 05, 90, 91, and we can just go down the pike, has always been, are you okay? Are you okay? Just because I get upset or just because we happen to disagree on something, we're not unstable. We are okay. We just need to be treated like every other citizen in this country. My God, I got shot 3 times in combat fighting for this country. And for me to come back and for you to even entertain the thought of taking away my constitutional freedom, that's not common sense. It's not right. We need to fix this.
Thank you, sir. Other ideas for what Congress could do to decrease veteran suicide?
Yeah, so we favor overhauling this process. In my opening statement, we would include a medical screening as part of this process to determine the veteran's propensity to harm self or others, and a judicial review before NICS assignment. So have 2 components. We have control over the process because underlying the constitutional rights issue is a process, and a process can be improved, and that's what we propose to improve it, is have a medical component, make sure that person, as you can, is not a danger to self or others, and before.
She's saying if they propose to give you a fiduciary, you should be able to be protected by having a second evaluation that's medical. Because remember, the fiduciary is not a medical document. It's just, are you able to handle your finances? Competent.
Or NICS assignment, have a judicial review, and define all those terms, define how this would go in statute.
Thank you. Mr. Washington?
Well, I think in my opinion, I work with law enforcement, first responders as well as veterans, and it really is about changing that stigma about mental health and seeking mental health counseling. And we are starting to make inroads. It's a giant super tanker that we're trying to turn in a different direction. And that's slowly happening. It's not moving as fast. And I know results are not the same across the board, but we keep fighting that fight in the general sense.
Thank you, sir. Thank you again for your service, and I yield my time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Van Orden, sir, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Cohen, is the Veterans Affairs Administration a law enforcement agency?
No.
Okay, good. We cleared that up. I've had With the passing of Senior Chief Mike Day, I've had 21 of my friends commit suicide. 21 of them. Those are all Navy SEALs. You didn't read about them. And they all died because of spiritual wounds that they received by serving our country. And so, Dr. Reynolds, you're right. The problem is we're not treating the root cause. Mr. Crane is right. You're welcome. Keith is right. Everybody over here, when we're talking about this issue, is correct when they're saying we're not addressing the problem, that we need efficiencies in the VA. And I want to read something to you. The sacred rights of mankind are not to be rummaged for among old parchments or musty records. They're written as with a sunbeam in the whole volume of human nature. By the hand of the divinity itself, it can never be erased or obscured by mortal power. Alexander Hamilton wrote that in 1775, and this is what he's saying. He's saying that either you believe that our constitutional rights are given to us by God and simply articulated to us in the Constitution, or you don't. And if you believe that to be true, that makes them immutable. And if something is immutable, it cannot be erased. It cannot be erased by the hand of man. It could only be erased by the hand of God. So what unfortunately is taking place is that the Veterans Affairs Administration is essentially playing God, because they're trying to remove something that is immutable. And words have meaning. Our country is based on this document. And our country is nothing without this document. We are. And Mr. McGarvey, who I respect tremendously, I just got to tell you something. When you say the medical record is the one thing, now we've got a doctor here. Morgan, you were a corpsman, weren't you, before? Okay, we're both medics, right? When you see a patient, you write something called a SOAP note. And the S in the SOAP note stands for subjective. Then it's objective, then it's assessment and plan. So every single one of these medical records that we're looking at, the first thing in there is a subjective view by the healthcare provider about the person. So if it's subjective, it can't be objective, because that's the next line in the SOAP note. So when we look at that document, a medical record written by a human hand, it's subjective and it's not immutable. So philosophically, we either have to say we're going to treat our veterans like the apex of creation that they are and respect them, or we're not. And I'm not willing to take away a veteran's right. We fought to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We did not fight to have a bureaucrat be able to subjectively remove our constitutional rights. You're welcome, sir, and thank you for your service. Master Sergeant Washington, my wife and I, Sarah Jane, lost our sweet Sydney last year. And I know what it means to lose a child. And there's no darkness at the end of that tunnel. And I'm very sorry, I'm very thankful that your son spoke to you on that bridge. But we do have to understand, and we have to think globally about this, and know that we are going to lose more veterans by degrading them, by treating us like children, than we will from them committing suicide with a firearm. Sir, you have my deepest condolences, and I thank you for your son's sacrifice and for your service. With that, I yield back.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Bergman, sir, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, in listening, I don't know if there's anything else to be said unless you want to change small dog to puppy or happy to glad and pick pepper from fly manure. In the end, you get two piles and you can't tell which is which. So how many people are left to talk, Mr. Chairman? Okay. All right. Well, the point is, just as a data point, sometimes this microphone is used to put out our message in such a way that it's not exactly adding to the goal of helping veterans. It's adding to our social media presence and all that. I get it. You know, if we took away microphones and cameras,
you know, in this venue, we'd have a lot more interesting, I think, and more productive conversations. But that's just the bias of one of the three, and I repeat, three remaining Vietnam veterans in Congress. I mean, as I look to my left and right here, I see, you know, Iraq, Afghanistan veterans who've served with great honor under great duress. There's only three of us left in Vietnam. And, you know, Mike Thompson from California, Jim Baird from Indiana, and me. All that means is we've been around a long time. And we saw in our country, when we came back, we weren't welcome back. We saw that the country as a whole saw the mistakes made of the 60s in not welcoming us back. We got it right after Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and after, you know, Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom and all of that. So we as a society with a conscience and understanding that everything we have comes from God, to include especially our rights, not bureaucrats. We have an opportunity here. As this committee sets the framework for holding the Veterans Administration accountable to the higher standards necessary to maintain the rights and the freedoms of all of our veterans, because if they have them, it's going to spread out across our population to help others, especially family members who have suffered the loss as well. The only thing we can do in this committee is ask questions, set the stage, and set the momentum. It's going to be up to all of you in the trenches to get it done. But I'm just going to stop here because I don't want to waste time. And as a Marine, I'm basically frugal. Some might say cheap. I don't waste money, yours, mine, or anybody else, and I don't waste ammunition. But we have to continue to press the message that our veterans need every bit of assistance, not necessarily help, but assistance to enable them to live their own productive lives, however much time is left. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to yield back because, again, I'm not saying anything that hasn't already been said.
Thank you, General. Yourself, you got two. Good. Thank you to every one of you for coming. Thank you for your service, Mr. Washington. God bless you, and I'm very sorry for your loss. Ranking Member, you said you wanted to enter something into the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We would please ask unanimous consent to enter the following letter from Everytown for Gun Safety into the hearing record.
Without objection. Thank you to all the witnesses testifying before us today and revealing how crucial it is to end VA's practice of violating the constitutional due process and Second Amendment rights of veterans with fiduciaries. With that, I yield for the ranking member. Your closing statement, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
One moment, Mr. Ranking Member, sorry. Apologize. Mr. Crane, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I enter my bill, HR 496, into the official record?
Without objection. Mr. McGarvey, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you once again, everyone, for your service, for being here today. As I said at the top of my hearing, I hope, it truly is my hope and my desire that we can work together to address any and all of the shortcomings at the VA with regards to this and any process which have to do with our veterans care. For example, Captain McCormick, the idea that someone is falsely reported is something we've got to look at and how that happens. I know that the chairman and I have talked a lot about where do we get to the core of this issue. I think it's also worth pointing out again today that when you look at what we are doing, we are talking about pre-existing laws. And those laws, like the 1968 Gun Control Act, like the Brady Law, have not been found unconstitutional. Even if passed, the law we are talking about today would still leave veterans with a determination of mental incompetency that under current law would keep them from going and purchasing a new firearm. It's just that this amendment would keep it from being reported to NICS. So there's a lot of work that we have to do here. The effort requires thoughtful analysis, what the program does, what it does not do, what it entails, and an honest attempt to bridge these data gaps and a sincere admission, policymakers, what we know and what we don't know exactly of how the rubber meets the road for the veterans. I want to again emphasize this is about veteran safety. We are not just talking about all veterans. We are talking about veterans, a very select subset of veterans who have not only been deemed incompetent, but are claiming a disability benefit because of that incompetence. This is the subsection we are talking about. And the only published studies we could find, and we were looking for the studies and the data, show that this particular group is at a higher risk for suicide than the normal veteran population. I want to emphasize, Mr. Chairman, that everyone on our side stands ready to work with you on improving all aspects of the fiduciary program and to protect our veterans' health in a way that balances their need for treatment and the protection of their rights. I yield back.
Okay, family, that's it on that. So basically what they're saying is this, and what they're talking about, let's turn the music back on, family, is that what he's saying is that disabled veterans, from what I'm gathering, let me know if you heard that, are more at risk of self-harm than veterans, just the regular veteran population. So that's what I'm getting. So let's turn this music back on. Let's see what we got here. Okay, family, we're back here. We are here. So tell me what you think of that. So let's get back to the comments. Let's see what y'all been talking about. Y'all been chatting away. We're gonna keep it moving. Well, thank y'all for being patient with us on that. Now look what we got in Texas. So that you'll know, you get $25 off of your for your concealed weapon permit here in Texas. Now, let's see. He said Captain McCormick needs anger management. The government says, yeah, that's what they say. Now let's see what we got here. And we're going to be finishing things up. Let's see. Let me try to make this full screen. Now there you go. There you go. It's sad that the bureaucrats have. This is from Thumper. It's sad that the bureaucrats have this simple one-track agenda and think that taking someone else's Second Amendment rights will stop self-harm. Not necessarily. You're right. Thumper says, in my opinion too, brother, Mr. Crane was the only one that mentioned Mr. Washington chose two other options to harm himself. Neither involved a firearm, which is true. Now, Thumper said, Ed Charlton Zimmerman, you leave Mr. McCormick alone. Now, let's see what we got here. He said, I guess once a GI government issue, you lose rights. Now, Brother Charleston say maybe next police action, war Congress will help the veterans. Yes, indeed. Now, family, let us get back to what we're doing. Like I was saying here, that that you can get your concealed weapon, like it. Do a update on the VA law. Let's do that real quick. And from now, after this here, if there's no changes, we're going to talk about the laws that are in there, but not tonight, because we've been here for a good little while. We're going to talk about the laws. Let me see here. Okay. Okay, let's see. I think I put the wrong thing up. Hold on, give me a second here. All right, here we go. Let's see if there's been any changes in VA law. Let's check that now. No changes. No changes as of yet. No. So we can keep moving. We always get an update on VA law, whether there's one or not. Let us continue. We don't have to worry about that. No fair use. Veteran news. Let's do a checkup on the veteran news. We're about almost done. Let's see. And we related to what we talked about tonight. So let's see what we got here. This is just basically what we were talking about. Hold on. I thought I said so. Okay, so I don't know what's going on now. So this is talking about the veterans self-harm reporting reminds us how much work is left. And so they just going over the statistics here. You look at this article in 2000. Okay, let's see what it says. It used to be 22%. I knew that. And it's lower now. However, the latest numbers, and I'm down here. However, the latest numbers are a sharp reminder of how far we have to go. 2022, more than 6,400 veterans died by self-harm. And so, and look down here when it comes, once you go through the article, we ain't gonna do it tonight, but it says, take, for example, military S trauma, which refers to military S assault and harassment while in the military. Among men using the VA healthcare reported experiencing military S trauma, the self-harm rate is a staggering 37%, almost 38%. A 1.8% increase. Like I told you, men are affected, are the most people in there, and it also affects women too, but men get affected by it too. So you just need to know this. So here's some of the information. You can go look this up if you want to. And I just want to cover it, so you'll know the news of what's going on, okay? So you just, family, stay alert. So we went over the veteran news for the night. Now about our channel, we're just gonna run through this real quick. For those that are new, this is a place where we come together, talk about these issues. I'm not a middleman. I am the H-Town vet. We facilitate veterans communicating, but we don't hook people up with other people. We had to learn that the hard way. People try to take your whole channel over. Huh? Like they made me. And brainstorming, coming up with ideas and different things we can talk about is important, but what we need from y'all need to give suggestions. So not just in the chat, you need to actually come and send me an email to the H-Down Vet Northside. Now, if you have more than one account, let me come up and make sure I'm on the side screen. If you have more than one account, you make sure you're subscribed on all your chat accounts. Because what happened, only the ones you subscribed on are the ones that's gonna be able to come in here. Because the only one's gonna be able to chat. So so I do that. So we have people that just want to troll, but they don't want to subscribe. Well, you have to subscribe long enough to troll. How about that? Huh? Now let us continue. Here, your opinion counts as always. And like I say, we're trying to improve the quality of the channel. And that's why we have chat rules. So stay on topic when it's necessary. Try not to be disruptive. We just don't be disruptive. And our meetings are 6 p.m. And tonight we did it at 6:30 p.m. But for those of you who don't want to come to our regularly scheduled broadcast, they're on Sundays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central Time. Let us continue. You want to contact us? Here's our contact and donation information. If you haven't done so, smash that like button. We'll appreciate it. Share this broadcast with others and subscribe if you haven't done so. Those that are just sitting in the, You may not be commenting, but you're sitting and watching the broadcast live or recorded. New releases, PTSD triggers, which is very powerful. Those of you that weren't here last night, on Sunday, you definitely need to go back and watch that. We break down all the triggers, and these can be used if you describe them properly when you're talking to a CMP examiner, when you're dealing with mental health or even physical conditions, because physical conditions can cause a pain and depression and everything else too. Then our video on disabled veteran license plate, and that was really good, talking about the benefits of free toll travel. I said free toll travel, free parking, and free airport parking. Find out about near you. Very popular video. Coming soon. And we realize it's going to take a lot. Boy, this is a lot. I'm working on this here. This might take a while. Champ VA healthcare insurance, when you're 100% permanent total or 100% PNT, 100% PNT or 100% TDIU. Champ VA for your dependents, not for the veteran. And if you qualify for TRICARE, you can't get your dependents cannot get Champ VA. Now in our library, go to our channel and look at some of our videos that we have and live streams. You can see, go to our handle, H-Town Vet Northside, and you're going to see a lot of other videos. Don't just come in and watch these. If go back and watch some of the ones that we've done historically, because we cover a lot of variety. And that's our channel where you can find that information. And remember, we're here for teamwork, not ego. Personal ego is not a place for it. We're meant to be informative, interactive, respectful, protective, transparent, and definitely troll-free. Don't mind having a little fun. Just, when it get a little out of hand, say, chill out, calm down on it. But we want to protect the brand, family. Now, want to hear from you if you got anything to say. And we're at the after party. Any state. Good night, veteran family. That's it. Anything somebody wants to say. Anything, any last statements, comments, concern. We're at the after party, family. We did it tonight. How's that weather where you at? Baby Boss, before you leave, how's that weather where you at? Huh? Somebody let me know what that temperature is. And then we'll call it a night. Come on with it, family. Let me know what's going on. How's that weather, family? And y'all can go ahead and say, if y'all want to, if y'all have something to say, go ahead. If there's any questions, let us know about what we talked about or anything. We're at the after party. And Brother Charles say, night, Betty Bops. We've enjoyed you and we appreciate y'all. We've been on here 3 hours and 13 minutes. I didn't think we could get through that whole Senate hearing. So that's good. Now, any questions, family? Any statements about what you want to talk about? Well, we're going to get ready to call it a night. While y'all doing that, I'm going to say to Brother Charleston, thank you for joining us. Sister Betty Bops, thank you. Hold on, I already went over Brother Charles. Thumper, thank you for being here tonight, my brother. Thank you for the energy that you bring. Oh, let's see. Kevin Colbert Sr., thank you. Brother Coasty, thank you for joining us tonight. If I forgot you, Betty Bops, like I said, thank you, sister. I'm trying to get my family in here. We had Army George up in here. It's like, thank God for Army George being in the house. Sister Bionic Woman. We giving shout out to all the people that came in and supported us on this impromptu live. Don't know if we're doing it tomorrow. We may or may not. But if we do that, we're just going to have it open to y'all, where y'all just talk about what y'all want. We're going to pretty much do that, you know. Might put in a little slides just to keep it going. We don't want to sit around if people ain't got nothing to talk about. Veteran Policy Plug, thank you for showing up. I'm looking to see, make sure I didn't miss anyone. But y'all been very active and we appreciate y'all. I think I said Kevin Colbart Sr., thank you for being here. The Alternative, hold on, thank you for your support. Hopefully you and your family is doing well. I'm looking. So that's it on that. Now let me go back down to the bottom and catch any last statements that anybody's made. And only one, as Brother Charleston say, cloudy yet, 33% no rain yet. Okay. Well, family, we want to thank y'all for showing up. And we appreciate your continued support, your kindness. And we thank you for everything that you've done to support us. If you didn't watch all of the broadcasts, when you get a chance, go back and do so, and we'll appreciate that. We're going to end on what our topic was. So thank y'all for joining us. Kosi said it was 15 snow and ice on the road, 15 degrees. Okay. So family, thank you for joining us where we answered the question, should veterans be fearful of losing their Second Amendment rights? And that's for you, that depends on you as the individual. Let us know, you let us know how you think. And we want y'all to have a wonderful and blessed night. And we can't wait to see you on the next one. Please click on your notifications. Good night, family.